Chapter 513. In the beginning, Fong Qingshan was in a good mood when he saw Mosquito Doran's cultivation rising like a rocket. After all, this was his second primordial spirit. An increase in strength was equivalent to an increase in his own cultivation. If Fong Qingshan's main body was destroyed one day, he could still make a comeback with the help of his second primordial spirit. Mosquito Doran made breakthroughs in his physique, mystical powers, and even the secret realm of longevity in less than an hour. However, Fong Qingshan was dumbfounded. That was because there were not enough resources. Yes, there were not enough resources. The reason for this situation was that while Fong Qingshan had obtained a lot over the years, he had also used up a lot of resources for his own cultivation. Then, just now, he was happy and opened up the treasury, allowing Qiongqi and the others to take whatever treasures that could help improve their cultivation. Although everyone knew their limits and did not take too much, there were hundreds of thousands of people. If each person took one treasure, it would be like a mountain or an ocean. It was only because Fong Qingshan had traveled across the myriad heavens and obtained a lot of treasures, which allowed him to accumulate quite a bit of wealth. Otherwise, this amount alone would have been enough to bankrupt him. Of course, the most important thing was that Mosquito Doran needed too many resources to break through his cultivation. When heaven closed a door for you, it would definitely open a window for you. Hongjun Tiandao value balance. Correspondingly, the more you gained, the more you have to pay. Mosquito Doran's mouth could devour the heavens and the earth. It was even more powerful than the heavenly hound, the Kuan Peng, and the others. That was not all. More importantly, there was nothing that it could not destroy. Unless it was a Khanate cardinal treasure, even a top Khanate spiritual treasure like the 12-stage golden lotus could not withstand his bite. If that was all, it was still acceptable. It was just a little heaven-defying. Wasn't Kong Xian's 5-color divine light just as heaven-defying? The crux of the matter was that they needed to digest the energy they devoured. Even after digesting the energy, they might not be able to increase their cultivation and break through to the next realm. Mosquito Doran, on the other hand, was different. As long as he kept devouring and didn't advance rashly, like the time when he hastily devoured a 12th-tier golden lotus when he was just a peak golden immortal, he could keep digesting and his strength would rise accordingly. As long as he followed the prescribed order, as long as he had enough resources and no bottlenecks, he would be able to break through again and again. This was not just defying the natural order, it was completely challenging the limits of Hongjun Tiandao. In this case, if Hongjun Tiandao didn't impose restrictions, what would happen? Thus, Sanqing and Pangu's Yuan Shun could be born at the same time, East Emperor Tai and Dijun were born together, Zhuni was the guide, Nuan and Fushi were born in pairs, only Mingi and Mosquito Doran were different. Mingi had been born for so long and had already made a name for himself as the Undying Blood Sea and the Undying Mingi, but Mosquito Doran was just born. Mingi couldn't know of his birth and could only hide, otherwise he would be killed. This was not the end. It was not easy to wait for the immeasurable tribulation, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Mosquito Doran escaped while Mingi had no energy. From then on, he could fly freely in the sky and swim freely in the sea. Sure enough, a goddess of turtle spirit instantly raised his cultivation infinitely. There was also a treasure like the 12th-tier golden lotus. It was naked and obvious in front of him, constantly tempting Mosquito Doran. Then, tragedy befell him. He was blinded by Hongjun Tiandao and the tribulation. He didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and devoured the 12th-tier golden lotus. 2 birds with 1 stone. With his help, Hongjun Tiandao not only destroyed the foundation of the Buddhist sect, but also destroyed Mosquito Doran. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This time, because of Fong Qingshan's butterfly effect, although Mosquito Doran did not fall into the hands of the guide, he was still destroyed by Fong Qingshan. It was not that easy for Fong Qingshan to go public through a back door. That was because the restrictions of Hongjun Tiandao were not limited to that. If he wanted a breakthrough, it would be fine as long as he had enough resources. However, His breakthrough consumed more than 100 times the resources of geniuses of the same level. Back then, Mosquito Dowrin devoured a goddess of turtle spirit and instantly broke through from an earth immortal to a half-step primordial unity. That was only because it was not convenient for him to break through when he was in the Blood Sea, but his origin power was still strong enough. As for the goddess of turtle spirit, she was one of the 4 inner disciples of the GS school. In terms of cultivation and wealth, ordinary people could not compare to her. In the end, except for the sun and moon pearls and a turtle shell, there was nothing left. This time, Mosquito Dowrin could break through to the itinerant immortal realm only because he had only taken a detour and used less resources. Otherwise, it would have been twice as much. It seems that every peck and every drink is predestined. Fang Qingshan could not help but sigh. He had to improve his cultivation, develop the Khanate small world, and advance the heavenly chessboard. Now, there was Mosquito Dowrin. His appetite was so big that Fang Qingshan had worked hard for half his life, but he was back to square one night. Now, Fang Qingshan finally understood why Daoist Yuni liked the 1 meter higher sky. They were all poor. 7 prefectures, 3 treasuries, 1 secret treasury, and the Tai sect. It seems that I still have to spend more effort. The Tao of Heaven takes away the surplus and makes up for the deficiency. The Tao of Man takes away the deficiency and makes up for the surplus. Fang Qingshan could not bear to let Mosquito Dowrin devour the Khanate numinous treasure, even if it was an inferior grade Khanate numinous treasure. One had to know that every Khanate numinous treasure was unique and nurtured by heaven and earth. It contained the mysteries of Hongjun Tian Dao. It would be a waste to let Mosquito Dowrin devour it. After all, he was not picky about food, so why waste such a good thing? The second essence soul was successfully cultivated, and he had a new understanding of the Tai Ching immortal technique. Fang Qingshan counted with his fingers and realized that half a year had passed. The reason was naturally because he had lost the concept of time after entering the Tao Enlightenment realm. Tension and relaxation were the Tao of literature and martial arts. Cultivation was not something that could be achieved by blindly working behind closed doors. Moreover, there was a mess waiting for him to clean up. It had to be known that before he went into seclusion, he had moved the Fang family of the emergent sect out of the world of the sea-calming divine pearl and handed them over to Fang Zitao to manage. At that time, he was busy dealing with the hidden dangers of his body. Now that he had the time, it was time to go out and greet them. Therefore, Fang Qingshan tidied up a little and walked out of seclusion. It just so happened that Fang Han's injuries had been healed. Moreover, it was a blessing in disguise. His cultivation had broken through to the World King realm. It was really worth celebrating. For a time, everyone gathered in the meeting hall of the former Wanxiang Garden. Of course, the so-called people were Fang Qingshan, Fang Han, Fang Zitao, Fang Zeshan, and some Fang family members who had cultivated to the supernatural mystic realm, such as Fang Qin, Fang Chong, and so on. As for the 2 sisters, Fang Qingxue and Fang Qingwei, they did not know where they were traveling and had not returned. The topic of discussion was the future development of the Fang family. Chapter 514. Emergent Sect is treating our Fang family like this. I think we should attack Emergent Sect and let Third Young Master take charge of Emergent Sect. That's right, we should take Emergent Sect and make it our Fang family's sect. Some of the people who returned from Emergent Sect were unhappy with Emergent Sect's actions and wanted revenge. Of course, the reason why they dared to have such an idea was because Celestial Supremacy, Celestial Cycle, and Xian Wuqing, the 2 hollow immortals, treated them as Fang Qingshan's stepping stones. On the other hand, if Fang family could take control of Emergent Sect, it would really usher in a rapid rise. It would no longer be a dream for a man to achieve Tao. After all, Emergent Sect was one of the 10 great sects of immortal Tao, second only to Greater One Sect. Naive, Emergent Sect is not that easy to control. That's right, although Third Young Master is the best in the world, we can't trouble him with everything. That's right, and Young Master has already declined Feng Baiyu's position in Emergent Sect. If we snatch it, won't we be going back on our words? These were the thoughts of some slightly more rational people. They knew that swallowing a sect from the inside was not something that could be done with a high-pressure policy or a pillar that could support the heavens in a short time. Unless Fang Qingshan disregarded everything and robbed the East Wall to pay the West Wall, using Emergent Sect to support the Fang family. However, that would be too unsightly. After all, Emergent Sect still had some relations. Although they were heartless, they did not go too far. Moreover, other people in Emergent Sect were fine, but Feng Baiyu was not easy to deal with. If they wanted to swallow Emergent Sect, they might as well set up their own sect. However, there are many people who had this idea. As the saying goes, a good horse doesn't eat the grass that goes back. Instead of thinking about Emergent Sect, I think we should set up our own sect. That's right, this is good. We have young Master Feng Han, young Mistress, and the others. We are not inferior to the 10 great sects of Immortal Tao. Fang Zitao and Fang Zeshan were also very tempted by this idea. A sect that was completely dominated by the Fang family would really bring glory to the Fang family. This was something that they had always dreamed of. After much discussion, in the end, Fang Qingshan and Fang Han had to make the final decision. After all, it was Fang Qingshan's fault for having such a high cultivation level. In a society where strength was respected, having strength meant having the right to speak. Although Fang Han was powerful, he was no match for Fang Qingshan, and he was not a direct descendant of the Fang family. Therefore, everything depended on Fang Qingshan's decision. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Fang Qingshan touched his chin. Thousands of thoughts were running through his mind. He had some ideas in his mind, but he did not say them immediately. Instead, he turned his head and asked Fang Han, who had been silent all this while. "What do you think?" "Me?" Fang Han was stunned. He did not expect Fang Qingshan to ask him. After all, this was a matter of the Fang clan's development. Although he was a member of the Fang clan, he had only been a servant. Although his cultivation base was high, when it came to clan matters like this, he generally had no right to speak. Besides, other than Fang Qingshan and Fang Qingxue, he didn't have much of a sense of belonging to the Fang clan, so he didn't want to speak up. However, since Fang Qingshan had pointed out his name, he casually said his thoughts. "I think what they said makes sense. It's not like we don't have the ability to build one ourselves. Although everything is difficult at the beginning, we can be bold and decisive. With the abilities of the third young master, the eldest young lady, and me, it is not difficult to support a top sect," Fang Han said calmly. "The only problem is that it is easy to build a framework of a sect, but it is not so easy to really have a clear hierarchy and orderly inheritance. This involves not only the foundation of the sect, but also the savings of talents and so on." "That's easy." Hearing Fang Han say this, Fang Qingshan waved his hand and said calmly, "The foundation of a sect is actually a matter of resources. There is no need to worry about this at all. We don't have it at all. To put it bluntly, the foundation of a sect is just a matter of resources. You don't have to worry about that at all. We don't have any. We can just rob a few treasure vaults." Hearing Fang Qingshan talk about robbery so openly, Fang Zitao and the others could not help but look at each other. However, Fang Han did not care at all. Instead, he sincerely agreed. The cultivation world was like this. The strong preyed on the weak. The big fish ate the small fish. The so-called treasures of heaven and earth belonged to the capable. Why did the Greater One sect develop so quickly? It was because they were strong and robbed a lot of resources that belonged to other sects and others. With more resources, they could cultivate more talents and more experts, thus forming a virtuous cycle. In the whole world, the strong became stronger and the weak became weaker. If it were not for the great calamity, the position of the Greater One sect in the black-yellow great world could not be shaken. It was even foreseeable that one day it would grow to become the limitless Star Palace. As for talent, it could be said that it was the most lacking, but also the least lacking. The most lacking was because there were not many top talents, and they had long been taken in by others. If they wanted to cultivate a few people like Fang Qingshan and Fang Han, it was up to God's will. It was not lacking because ordinary geniuses, as long as they were not too useless, had a good temperament, and had enough resources, it was easy to grow quickly. Whether it was Fang Qingshan or Fang Han, they could reverse time and accelerate time. It was not a matter of minutes for them to cultivate some talents. Moreover, Fang Qingshan was not short talents now. It had to be known that the nearly 100,000 weapon spirits could be regarded as the first batch of disciples. As for saying that they were not human, Fang Qingshan did not care about this. As long as they did not do evil, as long as they were loyal to him and could help him, it did not matter if they were demons or ghosts. If that's the case, then things will be easy. Fang Han nodded. Now, there are only two things that are urgent. One is that since it is a sect, it should have a sect. The choice of a sect should be considered carefully. The second is to decide which sect to rob and which treasure. This must be decided as soon as possible. Yes. When Fang Qingshan heard this, he could not help but nod secretly. The mountain gate was a problem. Although the Xinhuang Great World was huge, after so many years, the good spirit veins and blessed lands had long since been occupied by others. It was not easy to find a good place. In fact, it could even be said that there was none. However, Fang Qingshan thought of a place which was the Sun-Moon Void. However, that place was originally the continent of the Black-Yellow Great World, so ordinary people could not go there. Moreover, it would take some effort to make it the base of the sect. When Fang Qingshan mentioned this place, everyone felt that it was the most suitable place at the moment. As for getting away from the Black-Yellow continent, they could build a formation or use a Dao weapon to guide them. Although it was a little troublesome, it seemed more high-end. As for which sect or treasure to rob. In this regard, Fang Qingshan was a little puzzled. Fang Qingshan was not interested in ordinary treasures, and high-end treasures could not be obtained in a short time. Chapter 5:15. It seems that I can consider the Yellow Springs Treasure Vault and the 7 Prefectures' treasures. Fang Qingshan thought about it, and still felt that these 8 treasures were more reliable. As for the Misty Treasure Vault and the Primordial Treasure Vault, it would depend on luck. As for the sects, he could not attack them for no reason. Although Fang Qingshan did not think that he was a good person, he was not the kind of person who would do anything to achieve his goals. He still had some psychological bottom line. So if he wanted to rob other sects, he would have to attack those who had a grudge against him. Looking at the entire Black-Yellow Great World, if there was a deep grudge against Fang Qingshan, it would be the Greater One sect. Back then, in order to deal with Fang Qingshan, the Greater One sect master, who lived in Hongjun Tiandao, actually personally attacked Fang Qingshan. If he did not have some means, the grass on his grave would have grown one after another. Later, on the birthday of Venerable Ling Long, he issued a Hongjun Tiandao kill order against Fang Qingshan. Although it was not settled in the end, it was also because of Fang Qingshan's strength. Therefore, if he wanted to find a sect to attack, then the one that could arouse Fang Qingshan's interest the most must be the Greater One sect. But the Greater One sect was not so easy to deal with. Although Fang Qingshan had broken through to the Earth Immortal Realm, the Greater One sect also had an emissary from the Immortal Realm. If he attacked them, not to mention whether he could break through the Greater One sect, even if he could, he was afraid that he would have to pay a price and expose a lot of his means. Especially at this juncture, the great calamity of the divine race was about to begin. If he was targeted by the divine race, it would not be fun. Just as Fang Qingshan was hesitating, suddenly a light flew in from outside the hall. At first, everyone was startled, thinking that someone was sneaking up on them. But then the light stopped in front of Fang Han. It was a sound transmission talisman. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan raised his eyebrows, but did not say anything. He only waited quietly. It's a message from Baby Nebula. After reading it, Fang Han said to Fang Qingshan, and then he did not wait for him to ask. The Immortal Tao Conference is about to begin, and the Greater One sect wants to make some trouble. Got it. After listening to Fang Han's voice transmission, Fang Qingshan's eyes suddenly lit up, and he thought of a solution. Since the Greater One sect had won over the other sects, he had to cut off one of their wings and one of their arms first. Since the Greater One sect had roped in other sects, Fang Qingshan would first cut off his wings and cut off one of his arms. And with this arm, Fang Qingshan had already locked onto his target, Myriad Returns Immortal Island. And sect the sect. First of all, in addition to the Greater One sect, the other 9 sects were Emergent Sect, Astral Sect, Exquisite Paradise, Sect of Immortals, Crystal Cave, Heavenly Sword Sect, Sun and Moon Sword Sect, Pill Cauldron Sword Sect, and Yuan Sect. Among them, Emergent Sect, since they were ready to build a new sect, naturally would not target him. Otherwise, wouldn't it be better to seize Emergence Sect directly? As for Astral Sect, Fang Han had a good relationship with their young master, Baby Nebula. Naturally, Fang Qingshan could not attack his own people. And Exquisite Paradise, he had obtained Venerable Ling Long's magical talisman to resist the attack of Taoist Han Yuan for him, so it was not good to turn against them. As for Crystal Cave, Heavenly Sword Sect, Sun and Moon Sword Sect, Pill Cauldron Sword Sect, and Yuan Sect, Fang Qingshan was not familiar with them and did not have much of a presence. Another reason was that Sect of Immortals deserved to be punished. On the surface, Sect of Immortals seemed to be a righteous sect, but in fact, they used the name of slaying demons to eliminate dissidents everywhere on the sea. Their glory was actually built on the mountains of corpses and seas of blood of others. Most of the top 10 sects of Immortals Dao were established on the mainland. Apart from Exquisite Paradise, only Sect of Immortals was established overseas. A mainland could support so many sections. Not only was the overseas not smaller than the mainland, but it was also larger and had a lot of resources. But there was only Sect of Immortals. Wasn't this suspicious? In fact, all this was because Sect of Immortals would prosper if they obeyed or perish if they didn't. In order to be dominant, they used ruthless means. For example, the Softwater Sect, Sea Spirit Sect, and so on inexplicably disappeared, which was actually the doing of Sect of Immortals. Of course, this kind of thing was not uncommon. Primitive accumulation was a bloody path. The law of the jungle was the law of nature. Fang Qingshan was not an overflowing, compassionate person. This was just an excuse for him to deal with Sect of Immortals. He shouldn't have tied himself with his enemy, Greater One Sect. Now that Fang Qingshan couldn't lay a hand on Greater One Sect, who else could he find but him to vent his anger? As for the last point, which was also the most crucial point, it was cost-effective to rob Sect of Immortals. Sect of Immortals excluded dissidents, monopolized the overseas, and even had the trading market of Sect of Immortals. It could be said that they could earn a lot of money every minute. Compared with other sects such as Heavenly Sword Sect, Sun Moon Sword Sect, and so on, Sect of Immortals was naturally not in the same league. Therefore, whether it was for public or private reasons, Sect of Immortals was on his death list. Fang Qingshan said his thoughts, and the others naturally had no objections. Fang Zitao and others didn't have any clear concept. The people of Emergent Sect were full of blind confidence in Fang Qingshan, not to mention robbing Sect of Immortals. Even if Fang Qingshan said he was going to destroy Greater One Sect now, they would believe it. Fang Han didn't care, and he had a subordinate, who was also a former successor disciple of Emergent Sect, named Long Xian, who had been following him. He had an irreconcilable hatred with Sect of Immortals, so naturally he wouldn't object. Since the decision had been made, Fang Qingshan naturally wouldn't delay. After saying a few words to Fang Zeshan and others, he and Fang Han directly set off for Sect of Immortals. With their cultivation, their speed was naturally unparalleled. The great teleportation technique was displayed, the space shook, and in less than 3 breaths, boundless water vapor appeared around them and reached the sea. In the ocean, in addition to the water and the vast space, the most special thing was naturally the unpredictable weather. It was really the weather in June. A child's face could change at will. Perhaps one moment there was lightning and thunder, and the next moment the sun was shining high in the sky and the sea was wide. However, all this was child's play for Fang Qingshan and Fang Han. not to mention a normal weather change. Even if the four seas were to riot, they wouldn't be hurt. Not long after, Fong Qingshan and Fong Han arrived at Sect of Immortals. Here, both of them couldn't help but let out a sigh. It should be known that Fong Han was chased overseas for a long time, and later it was Fong Qingshan who blocked Hua Tiandu for him. Even so, he was almost killed in Tai Yuan Immortal Abode. What about Fong Qingshan? He had intercepted Fong Han's opportunity here and obtained the World Tree, a top primordial spirit root fragment. Chapter 516. Young Masters Fong. The mountain gate of Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island is right in front. Two rays of light descended, revealing Fong Qingshan and Fong Han. They were holding a disciple of Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island in their hands, who was nervously leading the way for them. The reason why Fong Qingshan and Fong Han wanted to go to the Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island was that neither of them knew where the mountain gate of Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island was located, so they grabbed a guide. The mountain gate of Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island was actually a bit similar to the Golden Turtle Island, where the Green Touring Palace of the Jie School was located. However, the mountain gate of Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island was definitely not comparable to the Golden Turtle Island. Even so, it was still considered a top-notch grotto heaven in the black-yellow Great World. The entire mountain gate of Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island was built on an island. Although it was called an island, it could actually be regarded as a small continent with a radius of thousands of miles. On the continent, rare beasts were everywhere, spirit flowers and precious herbs grew everywhere. Although the spirit Qi was not like rain, it was more than 10 times richer than the outside world. Moreover, this continent was a peerless Tao artifact, similar to the Emergence Sect's Emergence Heavenly Palace and the Astral Sect's Primordial Meteorite. Its power could be ranked among the top among the peerless Tao artifacts. In particular, this Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island was located on the sea eye. On one hand, it could suppress the sea eye, quell the sea disaster, and obtain the blessing of providence. On the other hand, if they encountered a strong enemy, they could use the power of the sea eye and mobilize the origin Qi of the sea to suck people into the sea eye. It was no small matter. It was really killing two birds with one stone. This Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island can be used as a foothold for our sect. In the future, we can move it to the Sun and Moon Void and use it as a floating island. Fong Qingshan nodded in satisfaction when he saw this piece of land. Not bad, Fong Han echoed. The two of them seemed to regard Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island as something in the bag. The Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island disciple could not help but roll his eyes. If he did not know that he could not afford to provoke them, he would have mocked them. However, he did not know Fong Qingshan's current reputation. In front of the Ascension Gate, he killed the two Void Immortals, Heavenly Circuit Immortal Venerable and Xian Wuqing. In the endless snow plains, he killed the Divine Venerable of the Great House and billions of gods. It could be said that Fong Qingshan's current name was like a thunderclap piercing the ears. It was by no means a polite remark. If it were not for the fact that the Greater One sect had an immortal emissary descending to the mortal world, as well as the first person in 3,000 years, there would have been people who would call him the first person. Of course, because of the short period of time, Fong Qingshan's name was only circulated among the upper echelons. Ordinary disciples did not know much about him. Otherwise, he would be worried for Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island. Do you want to do it? Or should I? Looking at the giant island in front of them, Fong Qingshan smiled at Fong Han. Of course I'll do it. Fong Han rolled his eyes. If you make a move, what will happen to me? With a sway of his body, he appeared on the floating Wangui continent, also known as the Guizhong continent. Just like the last time Fong Qingshan saw it in Emergence Sect, Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island also activated the island's protective formation. It was unknown whether it was like this usually, or because the Great Calamity was about to begin, and overseas was the bridgehead of the Divine Race's attack. A huge translucent shield of water covered the entire Guizhong continent. Although it was only a thin layer, it was condensed from the 10,000 transformations true water, a kind of spirit water of the world. If a person entered without a supreme treasure to protect themselves, they would immediately be eroded to the bone. Fang Han did not talk nonsense and directly attacked. The defensive shield of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island might be a bit troublesome for others. But for Fang Han, it was a piece of cake. First of all, his cultivation had reached the World King realm, and he also cultivated the magical powers of the 5 demon emperors. The 5 elements were innately under his control. With a sway of his body, he turned into a sea emperor, holding a trident in his hand, and stabbed at the light shield. Bang! The light shield first caved in, trying to deflect the force, and then trying to rebound. Unfortunately, Fang Han's strength had exceeded the limit of what they could bear. With just a little struggle, the light shield exploded with a loud bang, turning into rain that fell on the Guizhong continent. Good heavens, the people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island were really unlucky this time. It had to be known that this rain was not ordinary rain, but the 10,000 transformations true water that could erode one's soul. As long as one was touched by it, they would be severely wounded without exception. Damn, who dares to attack my Myriad Gwyn's immortal island? Fang Han's move instantly alarmed the entire Myriad Gwyn's immortal island. Good heavens, ever since Myriad Gwyn's immortal island was established, no one had ever attacked their mountain gate. Fang Han could be considered a pioneer. You're courting death. With a loud shout, the sound of waves suddenly came from under the island. Following that, countless thick columns of water rose up. With a gentle shake, they turned into ferocious dragons that bared their fangs and brandished their claws. Child's play. Although the attack was fierce, it was not enough in Fang Han's eyes. He did not make any movements, but he stretched out his hand. The dragons were like swallows returning to their nest, instantly dissolving. It's you? Fang Han. In a flash, a young man flew out from the Guizhong continent. The person who attacked was the first disciple of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island, Wan Lianshan, who was once in the top 5 of the longevity list. He had fought with Fang Qingshan at Venerable Linglong's birthday and had a middle-grade Dao artifact destroyed. Fang Qingshan's great stealth technique was exchanged from him. Things remained the same, but people had changed. The people who used to be on the longevity list had also advanced to the longevity realm. Unfortunately, the distance between him, Fang Han, and Fang Qingshan not only did not shorten, but widened instead. He was also very surprised to see Fang Qingshan, which was followed by anger. Fang Han, how dare you? How dare you? Noisy. Before Wan Lianshan could finish speaking, Fang Han flicked his sleeve and slapped Wan Lianshan's chest. Blood sprayed violently from Wan Lianshan's mouth, and he was blasted back like a ragged sack. If it wasn't for the fact that Fang Han did not have the intention to kill, he would have died. Fang Han, are you going to let Emergent Sect and Myriad Gwyn's immortal island go to war in advance? The old monster hiding in the dark finally could not bear it anymore. He was the deputy sect leader of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island, but he was not a match for Fang Han. It's none of my business whether Emergent Sect and Myriad Gwyn's immortal island go to war or not. I am no longer a disciple of Emergent Sect. Fang Han said lightly. It's not just me. The Fang family has left Emergent Sect. What? You are no longer a disciple of Emergent Sect? The Fang family has left Emergent Sect? Fang Qingshan also left Emergent Sect? How is this possible? Hearing Fang Han's words, the people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island could not help but be shocked. Their faces were full of disbelief. The Fang family had 3 heroes, Fang Qingshan, Fang Qingxue, and Fang Han. All of them were proud sons of heaven. Especially recently, Fang Qingshan showed great power and killed 3 emptiness immortals in a row. He was in the limelight for a while. Even if they racked their brains, they couldn't understand why the Emergent Sect would let go of such a mainstay. Wasn't that destroying their own walls? Chapter 517. You know the way, but not the reason. The people from Myriad Gwyn's immortal island were the same. They only knew that Fang Qingshan had killed Immortal Supremacy Heavenly Circuit and Company, but they did not know why Fang Qingshan had done so. He thought that the Heavenly Circuit Immortal Venerable had attacked the Ascension sect, and that Fang Qingshan had come to their rescue. The Emergent sect naturally knew what was going on. However, they had eyes but failed to recognize gold and jade. They had chased out a person like Fang Qingshan, who was a pillar of the sect and a rising star. How could they still have the face to talk about it? Naturally, it was a taboo. As a result, almost no one knew that Fang Qingshan and the Fang family had left the Emergent sect. The people of Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island were stunned by this news at first. Then they were overjoyed. Over the years, ever since Feng Baiyu took control of the Emergent sect, it could be said to be changing with each passing day. It gradually pulled apart the distance between it and the other sects, catching up to the Greater One sect. This was a huge stimulus for the other sections. After all, everyone was originally on the same level. Now that you suddenly stood out, the others would naturally feel unbalanced. As the saying goes, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind, and the tallest pile on the shore will be destroyed by the current. Apart from Feng Baiyu's leadership, the reason why the Ascension sect had such achievements was because of the endless number of genius disciples in the sect. Hua Tiandu, Meng Xiaobai, Fang Qingxue. Now that Fang Qingshan, Fang Qingxue, and Fang Han had left the Ascension sect had undoubtedly cut off an arm. The people of 10,000 Returns Immortal Island naturally couldn't help but gloat. The 10,000 returning Immortal Island had pledged allegiance to the Greater One sect, so they naturally did not want the Emergent sect to challenge the Greater One sect. After all, as long as the Greater One sect was good, they would be good. They would prosper together and suffer together. Especially when the Immortal Tao Convention was about to begin, the Emergent sect had suffered from internal strife, and their strength had been greatly reduced. If it wasn't for the fact that they had to pay attention to their image, the people of Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island would have looked up to the sky and roared. At this moment, another person walked out from the Myriad returning Immortal Island. This person was wearing green patterns that looked like a tortoise shell. He wore a simple and mysterious Taoist robe and had a black beard. In terms of cultivation, he was no worse than Fang Han. He was a world king master. I am Wan Yushu, the new island lord of 10,000 Gwyn's Celestial Island. Greetings to the two Taoist Fang Qingshan and Fang Han. Wan Yushu acted as if he did not feel anything towards Fang Han's previous actions and greeted the two of them with a smile. Since the two of you have left the Emergent sect, and we don't deal with the Emergent sect, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Why don't we enter the Immortal Island to have a chat? Fang Qingshan and Fang Han looked at each other. This was a smiling tiger. Oh, then just now, Fang Han's gaze swept over the scene of the 10,000 transformation true water corrosion. His meaning was self-evident. Haha, this is just a small matter. Wan Yushu laughed heartily. It's an honor for the two Taoist masters to come to my Myriad Gwyn's Immortal Island. Lian Shan is ignorant and actually dare to stop you. This is equivalent to a small punishment. With that, Wan Yushu waved her hand and said to the people of Myriad Returns Immortal Island behind her, Ceremony Elder, prepare the drum music and open the mountain gate. Welcome the distinguished guests. Elder Shun Gong, you lead 180,000 Herculean demon gods to clean up my Gui Zong continent and decorate the scenery. Elder Tian Yao, you lead 100,000 monster kings to the sea, to pick fresh fruits. Real Pellet State Elder, you go to the pill room and get the immortal pills to entertain the distinguished guests. Fang Qingshan and Fang Han looked at each other again and sighed with emotion. To be able to sit in the position of the top 10 sects of Immortal Tao, he really lived up to his reputation. Just now, he was slapping their faces, and the war was about to start, but in the blink of an eye, he wiped his face and greeted them with a smile. For this kind of person who changed his face faster than turning a page of a book, Fang Qingshan and Fang Han couldn't help but be vigilant. However, he was bold and skilled, so they didn't resist. They wanted to see what kind of medicine he was selling in the gourd. Following Wan Yushu, they entered the 10,000 Gwyn's Immortal Island. My goodness, the entire Gui Zong continent had been completely renewed while they were talking. In the corroded places, the injured disciples were completely gone, and flowers were everywhere. Countless sky demons, monster cultivators, and disciples in Taoist robes were beating drums, blowing conches, scattering heavenly flowers, holding rui, and holding incense burners, welcoming them. "Two Taoists, please." With that, Wan Yushu led the way and brought Fang Qingshan and Fang Han to a palace in the center of the Guizhong continent. The whole body was carved with a kind of cold jade similar to the deep sea, crystal clear like a crystal palace. Please. For a time, there were countless boys and girls carrying a variety of special and precious fruits that were rarely seen in the outside world, offering steaming and refreshing fragrant tea. Fang Qingshan and Fang Han picked up the teacup and saw 10 tea leaves floating in the spirit water. Each tea leaf was a world, filled with countless immortal qi, rolling like a tide. With a slight shake, the tea contained a breath of water vapor. They gently took a sip, closed their eyes, and immediately felt the pores all over their body relax, harmonizing with the water essence of heaven and earth, as if returning to the state of a baby. "Good tea," the two of them exclaimed in unison. "Haha, good tea." Hearing the praise of the two, Wan Yushu seemed to be very satisfied and introduced. "This tea is called immortal tea, from a spiritual root immortal tree in the immortal world. I raised it in the eye of the sea, and every 1,000 years it will grow 3 shoots. If not for the 2 Taoists coming today, I wouldn't be willing to take it out to serve others. In that case, the 2 of us are flattered." Fang Qingshan smiled. After some small talk, Wan Yushu said casually, "The 2 Taoists have left the emergent sect. What are your plans next? I wonder if sect leader Wan has any good suggestions?" Fang Qingshan smiled. "Why don't the 2 Taoists join my 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island?" Wan Yushu made a counteroffer. "I can give up the position of sect leader and ask the Taoist of Qingshan to take over." Fang Qingshan and Fang Han couldn't help but smile at each other when they heard this. But their view of Wan Yushu had changed a little. He was able to spend a lot of money. He was a person who could do great things. What? Seeing the appearance of Fang Qingshan and Fang Han, Wan Yushu raised his eyebrows and asked curiously. When the 3rd young master left the emergent sect, Feng Baiyu also stayed with the position of sect leader. Fang Qingshan didn't answer. Fang Han smiled. "Alas," Wan Yushu sighed. "It seems that my 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island can't keep the 2 of you. What about the Greater One sect?" Wan Yushu still didn't give up and continued. "They can give up the position of sect leader?" Fang Han asked rhetorically. At this point, Wan Yushu finally gave up and said regretfully, "In that case, it seems that we can't come to an agreement. We can only blame the 2 Taoists' fate." "Oh, you still dare to attack us?" Fang Han didn't expect that before he and Fang Qingshan made a move, Wan Yushu dared to make the first move. "Do you think the 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island can compare to the Great Zhou, Celestial, Venerable, and Xian Wuqing, the Dazai divine clan, and hundreds of millions of divine clans?" Chapter 518. You are too naive. In terms of cultivation base, you are indeed the pride of the heavens. I'm afraid even Venerable Ling Long was not as good as you back then. Unfortunately, you don't know that the older you are, the wiser you are. Wan Yushu glanced at Fang Qingshan and said coldly, "If you join my 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island, or join the supreme sect, then it would be good for you, for me, and for everyone. But you should not think that you are infallible, and think that by relying on your cultivation, you can go anywhere in the world. Yes, my myriad Gwyn's immortal island is not as good as Venerable Celestial Cycle and Xian Wuqing, the 2 hollow immortals, but sometimes cultivation base is not everything. Just like you can kill them with your cultivation base, I can also make Guizhong continent your burial ground. You say we are naive? I think you're just indulging in fantasy." Fang Han laughed. Guizhong continent, a mere supreme gray Dao tool that hasn't even passed the Thunder Tribulation. Myriad Gwyn's immortal island, although one of the top 10 sects of the immortal Dao, doesn't even have a hollow immortal. You want to keep me and 3rd young master here? I think you're daydreaming. Sure enough, Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Looking at Fong Han, Wan Yushu could not help but shake his head. He was not angry. The Jianghu is dangerous, and people's hearts are unpredictable. Why do you think I didn't make a move earlier or later, but chose to do it now? Divine tea, Fong Qingshan said lightly. How do you know? Wan Yushu was waiting for Fong Han to ask questions so that he could answer them calmly and enjoy their shocked, panicked, and frightened expressions. However, Fong Qingshan's sudden words instantly made him swallow the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Then, he asked uneasily with some surprise, confusion, and some panic. How do I know? Fong Qingshan chuckled, but did not answer. He could not say that he remembered it from the books he read before. Looking at Fong Qingshan's unfathomable expression, Wan Yushu felt even more uneasy. The reason why he had greeted them with a smile in the beginning was because he knew that Fong Qingshan was not someone they could afford to offend. Just as Fong Han had said, the 10,000 Returns Immortal Island could not compare to the Great Zhou, Celestial Venerable, and Xian Wuqing, but it was comparable to the Dezai Celestial Race and the billions of celestial races. At that time, if they were to go against them, even if they managed to protect 10,000 returning Immortal Island in the end, it would be something that they would not be able to bear or accept. Therefore, he decided to pull a fast one. He first kept Fong Qingshan and Fong Han in check, then lured them into the Gue Zong continent. There were several reasons for doing so. First of all, as mentioned earlier, Fong Qingshan's battle prowess was too great. He was not someone that Myriad Gwyn's Celestial Island could handle. If they really fought, even if Myriad Gwyn's Celestial Island could just barely protect itself, it would most likely be destroyed. They would suffer heavy losses and fall from the ranks of the 10 great immortal sections. At that time, there would be no need for a pack of wolves to surround them. The Greater One sect alone would not let go of this excellent opportunity to devour them. Then, just like when they were drinking tea, he really wanted to recruit them. Knowing that Fong Qingshan and his family had withdrawn from the emergent sect, he really wanted to recruit them, and even tempted them with the position of the sect master. Although Wan Yushu's talent and strategy were not as good as Venerable Ling Long and Feng Baiyu, but as the sect master of one of the 10 great immortal sects, how could he be an ordinary person? For a sect to develop and grow, in addition to its foundation, the most important thing was talents. Only by having an orderly inheritance and a steady stream of proud sons of heaven could the sect continue to develop and last for a long time. If Fong Qingshan and the others joined, 10,000 Gwyn's Celestial Island would most likely immediately surpass the emergent sect. After all, Fong Qingshan alone was equivalent to a sect. However, Wan Yushu did not have much confidence in this point. He could only say that he would do his best and leave it to fate. It was always good to give it a try. What if it turned out to be a ghost? In addition, it was to stall for time and send a letter to the Greater One sect asking for help. Of course, the most important thing was the immortal tea. As long as Fong Qingshan and Fong Han drank the immortal tea, Wan Yushu felt that everything was out of his control and he could sleep peacefully. Therefore, after Fong Qingshan and Fong Han repeatedly refused, Wan Yushu brazenly turned hostile before the people of the Greater One sect came to help. And what kind of powerful power did the immortal tea, which he relied on as his trump card, have that gave him such confidence? It turned out that although the immortal tea was not poison, however, there was a special power. As long as one drank it, there would be a feeling of flesh and blood connection with the tea tree itself. And the immortal tea tree itself was obtained from the spiritual roots of the immortal world. And after being refined day and night by many powerful experts of 10,000 Gwyn's Celestial Island, it was the foundation of the sea under the Guizhou continent. And after drinking this tea, one would be connected to the tea tree. As long as the tea tree was activated, it could drag people into the sea and use the power of the sea to suppress them. Even the soul could not escape. This was the biggest secret of 10,000 Gwyn's Celestial Island. Even in 10,000 Gwyn's Celestial Island, except for the sect leader and a limited number of supreme elders, no one else knew. And now looking at Fong Qingshan's appearance, It seemed that he knew the details, but he drank the immortal tea, which made Wan Yushu somewhat puzzled. But since he could not figure it out, Wan Yushu directly launched an attack. 10,000 Gwyn's celestial immortal tea tree. Absorb the demons, suppress the evil god. Following Wan Yushu's roar, buzz, the entire Goatsong continent trembled slightly. Then Fong Qingshan and Fong Han felt that under the Goatsong continent, there was a vast power coming from the depths, like a heavenly dog eating the moon. At the same time, the power of the immortal tea that made them feel like they were in heaven seemed to be returning to their nest, and could not wait to respond to the call. Ordinary people, even hollow immortals, would not have the slightest power to resist in this situation. After all, after the tea and the soul fused, it would be summoned by the CEI, sucked into it, and suppressed forever. But how could Fong Qingshan and Fong Han be ordinary people? No matter how mysterious the immortal tea tree was, he still had not gotten rid of the shackles of being a tree. Even if he came from the immortal realm, even if he had been trained day and night by many experts of 10,000 Gwyn's celestial island, even if he could suppress the CI. But since he was a tree, he had to be restrained by the world tree, the source of all wood. Fong Han and Fong Qingshan both had the world tree, especially Fong Qingshan's world tree. After devouring the key of the desolate god, the world tree from Dipamkara and hundreds of millions of gods, it could not be compared to the original body, or even the half of the world tree in the void god realm. But together with the innate small world, it could even suppress a fierce person like Mosquito Dowrin. Although it was seriously injured, it was still a half-step primordial immortal. After all, it was an existence that could pierce through a 12th grade golden lotus, so one could imagine how powerful it was. Therefore, Fong Qingshan did not even have to use other means, and the power of the immortal tea was directly digested and isolated by the world tree. Chapter 519. Even if the world tree could not do it, Fong Qingshan still had Mosquito Dowrin. He was a man who had no inhibitions. No matter what it was, once it entered his mouth, it would all be turned into the power of the origin and used to improve his cultivation. What about Fong Han? His world tree was indeed a little weak. It could not completely digest the immortal tea and block the call of the immortal tree. However, in addition to the world tree, he also had other means. Great soul technique, great blood soul technique. Combine the two, the spirit and the body become one. The soul returns, the sun and the moon shine brightly. Fong Han's heart skipped a beat. He directly used 2 of the 3,000 great ways. They specifically targeted the soul and the body. Coupled with the life Tao artifact, the 8-divisional pagoda, and the suppression of the world tree, in less than a millionth of a second, the immortal tea that had just been drunk was extracted from the soul and suppressed in the depths of the world. The suction force of the sea also disappeared. Both Fong Qingshan and Fong Han had the means to dispel the power of the immortal tea. However, they did not fight back. They looked at each other and, with a tacit understanding, followed the suction force and fell into the CEI. Beat them at their own game. Both Fong Qingshan and Fong Han knew that although their cultivation was high, it would take a lot of effort to break into a top sect that had stood in the black-yellow great world for thousands of years. However, no matter how powerful a castle was, it was obviously much easier to destroy it from the inside. This was especially so in the journey to the west. In the beginning, many powerful demons and ghosts attacked Sun Wukong with all kinds of tricks. However, once Sun Wukong had entered the stomach, the world would be turned upside down. The offensive and defensive positions would be reversed, and they would become fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Therefore, Fong Qingshan and Fong Han were prepared to blow up the immortal island from the inside and destroy it in one fell swoop. As for the suppressive power of the CI, for others, even celestial immortals would find it difficult to deal with, let alone hollow immortals or perfected immortals. After all, the ocean of the black-yellow great world was incomparably vast. Even if thousands of planets fell into it, they would not be able to fill it. Moreover, It contained the origin of the entire great world. Even golden immortals could not destroy it all at once. Even though myriad Gwyn's immortal island only occupied a single sea eye, the power of this sea eye was enough to suppress false immortals, true immortals, and even heavenly immortals. Unfortunately, they met Fong Han and Fong Qingshan. Although Fong Han could not break through the sea eye in a short time, the sea eye cannot trap him. As for Fong Qingshan, there was no need to mention him. With his cultivation, he could directly break free from the restraints of the sea eye. However, because Myriad Gwyn's island was suppressing the eye of the ocean, once Myriad Gwyn's island was breached, it would definitely cause the eye of the ocean to tremble, and once the eye of the ocean moved, the entire ocean would suffer calamity. At that time, the myriad of living beings in the ocean would probably be affected, and a monstrous karma would be enough for Fong Qingshan to suffer. Therefore, he planned to suppress the sea eye and destroy the back door of the 10,000 Returns Immortal Island before settling the score. As for the Eye of the Sea, Fong Qingshan had a treasure that was his nemesis, the Sea Calming Pearl. Like Monkey Sun's golden cudgel, it had the power to suppress the ocean. Although Fong Qingshan had not completely refined the Sea Calming Pearl, it was a primordial spiritual treasure after all, and was born to restrain it. As long as he used a little power, he could suppress the turbulence. After all, this was only the sea eye, not the origin of the ocean of the entire black-yellow great world. Not to mention that Fong Qingshan and Fong Han were confident. The people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island did not know that they had let a wolf into the house. Instead, they thought that the outcome was set and began to celebrate. Aha! Fong Qingshan and Fong Han were actually suppressed by me. Once the news gets out, Myriad Gwyn's immortal island will definitely become famous. We will surpass the emergent sect and catch up with the Greater One sect. Moreover, the treasures and opportunities on Fong Qingshan and Fong Han now belong to Myriad Gwyn's immortal island. If we digest them, our strength will definitely increase greatly, and the Greater One sect will definitely rely on us more. Furthermore, the Great One sect knows that we've suppressed Fong Qingshan and Fong Han and eliminated a threat for them. They'll definitely reward us generously. Maybe they'll even give us a spot to go to the immortal world. Well, don't talk nonsense. Now the most important thing is to refine Fong Qingshan and Fong Han and seize their treasures and opportunities. Otherwise, once the experts of the Greater One sect arrive, we will have wasted all our efforts. Seeing that everyone was only thinking about the good and did not consider the consequences, Wan Yushu could not help but shake his head and remind them. That's right, Fong Qingshan and Fong Han were suppressed by us. We must not let the Greater One sect benefit. Hurry up, otherwise when the emissary of the Greater One sect arrives, we won't even have soup to drink, let alone meat. The world was bustling for benefits, and the world was bustling for benefits. In the face of benefits, everyone quickly reached a consensus. They immediately refined Fong Qingshan and Fong Han. And in order to be foolproof, they prepared to activate the peerless formation of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island, the Sea Emperor sacrificial formation. This kind of formation was close to the demonic path. Every time it was used, it needed to sacrifice the blood of many living beings. The last time Myriad Gwyn's immortal island made a sacrifice was during the ancient war of gods and demons. But Fong Qingshan and Fong Han's cultivation could not be underestimated. In addition, they needed to hurry up before the Greater One sect arrived. Therefore, Wan Yushu and the others decided to directly activate the Sea Emperor sacrificial formation. If they could not sacrifice the child, they could not trap the wolf. In order to make a sacrifice, Myriad Gwyn's immortal island had even turned over their foundation. Not only had they eliminated the dissidents, but they had also captured many overseas slaves, as well as the believers in the inner world who provided them with the power of will. They had also captured many countries on the overseas continents. This sacrifice was no less than Fong Han's sacrifice in the endless snowfield and the great Zhai Divine Venerable's eternal nirvana sacrifice. Fong Qingshan and Fong Han were naturally unaware of this, But even if they knew, they would not care. Fang Han could not wait for their attacks to be more violent. But Fang Qingshan did not care. With his cultivation, even if the emissary of the Greater One sect came, he would not be able to do anything. If Myriad Gwyn's immortal island could exert more power than him, how could they be where they were now? So, what was Fang Qingshan doing at this moment? Of course, he was busy collecting the fairy tree and suppressing the CI. But Fang Qingshan rubbed his hands together, and a five-colored divine thunder struck forward. Kacha! Boundless water Yuan Qi dispersed, revealing a passage. And at the end of the passage was a towering tree, its head in the void, its roots rooted in the CI. Its branches were luxuriant, and its leaves were coiled like dragons. A refreshing fragrance wafted over, and endless water Yuan Qi wrapped around it. Not bad, not bad. Although this thing could not be compared to a top-notch spiritual root like the World Tree, it was good to use to cultivate younger disciples and entertain guests. Fang Qingshan was preparing to establish a sect, and such a thing was suitable as a foundation. Chapter 520. Time was something that people hated and loved at the same time. Some people hated it for being too fast. Life was too short. It lasted for thousands of years before it was all over. Therefore, 10,000 years was too long. One had to seize every moment. Some people loved it. It gained sentience in 10 years, became a spirit in 100 years, and became a demon in 1,000 years. Those who did not die were thieves. As for the immortal tea tree of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island, it had probably been planted there ever since the island was established. It had been tens of thousands of years since ancient times, so it had naturally become a demon. This demon had always stayed in the CI, suppressing the CI and controlling Myriad Gwyn's immortal island's array while cultivating. It was the island's trump card. Even the inherited teachings disciples and elders of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island might not know of its existence. It was even more impossible for outsiders to appear here. Therefore, when it sensed the appearance of an unfamiliar aura, especially when the aura was filled with malice, the immortal tea tree immediately came to its senses. A human face appeared on the tree trunk that was hundreds of thousands of feet tall. The human face looked ferocious as it suddenly opened its mouth and roared. A wild roar erupted from his mouth, and in the blink of an eye, thousands upon thousands of roots, branches, and leaves sprang up like dragons, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they lashed out toward Fang Qingshan and Fang Han. Petty tricks, a final struggle before death. Upon seeing this scene, Fang Qingshan smiled faintly. He gently brushed his forehead and saw a world with a round sky and square earth rise up. There are mountains and rivers, grotesque lights, celestial bodies, flowers, trees, birds, beasts, boundless spirit energy, and billions of living beings. Everything was there between life and death. In particular, there was a towering tree in the middle. Its head was above the chaos heavens beyond the 33 skies, and its feet were in the endless hell of the netherworld. Its endless roots were rooted in billions of void worlds, and its branches and leaves were like dragons. Its entire body was green and emerald. Its bark was like a talisman, and its leaves resounded in the heavens. At a glance, it looked like an indomitable Mount Bujo. Upon closer inspection, it looked like the 3,000 Great Tao Creation Jade Archives. The moment it saw the tree, the immortal tea tree immediately roared. Its already ferocious face was now distorted beyond recognition. Impossible, impossible. Wasn't the world tree cut down by the celestial race's sacred monarch? How could it still exist? Of course, this was not what shocked the immortal tea tree the most. What shocked it the most was the power of the world tree. Although the world tree in Fang Qingshan's hand was only half as powerful as before, it was at least 10 to 20% as powerful as before. It was the equivalent of an immortal artifact, an immortal human. Not to mention the immortal tea tree. Even Fang Han was shocked. Fang Han knew that Fang Qingshan had the Tree of World. After all, The Tree of World and the Tree of World could sense each other. However, just like the immortal tea tree, he did not expect Fang Qingshan's world tree to have been restored to such an extent. Fang Han even felt that the world tree in his body wanted to fly out of his consciousness and into Fang Qingshan's arms. Fortunately, he had completely refined the world tree, so this feeling was not very strong. He only needed to suppress it a little before it disappeared. However, this feeling still made Fang Han very uncomfortable. After all, things that were not under his control could not make him feel at ease. This was before Fang Qingshan had summoned the Tree of World. This was also before Fang Qingshan's Tree of World had reached the level where it could defeat everything. This was also, if this met a certain requirement, wouldn't it be possible to summon the Tree of World that he had painstakingly refined as soon as he got close? Let's not talk about what Fang Han was thinking. Fang Qingshan looked at the immortal tea tree and said calmly, "Since you know it's the Tree of World, will you surrender yourself? Or do you want me to do it? Surrender? Don't even think about it." The immortal tea tree was pulled back from its shock by Fang Qingshan and refused without thinking. At the same time, greed rose in its heart. "If you give me the Tree of World, I won't make things difficult for you. How about I let you go?" The Tree of World had a natural restraint on plant-type monsters. It was like a natural enemy, like an emperor. But at the same time, the World Tree was also a kind of treasure that these plant-type spiritual monsters yearned for even in their dreams. If they could refine a fragment of the Tree of World, they could strengthen their foundation, break through the shackles, improve their cultivation, and obtain unexpected benefits. This was just like the dragon. For the Scaled Armor clan, the Dragon clan was a supreme and noble existence. If they did not cultivate to a certain realm, they would be suppressed by the Dragon clan and would not be able to exert 70% of their strength. However, if they could get something from the Dragon clan, such as dragon blood, dragon armor, dragon pearl, they could risk their lives and risk everything. Humans die for wealth, and birds die for food. The immortal tea tree was naturally not willing to let go of this great opportunity. If it could refine Fang Qingshan's Tree of World, it would not be impossible for it to become a golden immortal or a heavenly lord, let alone break through the shackles. Hearing this, not to mention Fang Qingshan, even Fang Han could not help but shake his head. The immortal tea tree still did not understand the situation. It was like a fish on a chopping block, yet it still wanted to take it by force. It was really reckless. It seems that there is no need to talk nonsense. You could die now. As soon as the voice fell, Fang Qingshan's heart moved. The Tree of World suddenly burst out with unprecedented power, and a wave of verdant origin of all would burst out. If it landed on someone else, it would be extremely comfortable. However, when it landed on the immortal tea tree, it was like a poisonous thing. It could not avoid it and was terrified. It struggled and roared. The mystic water-black chi in the entire sea I suddenly gathered. Time and space began to reverse, and the universe began to collapse. However, it was of no use. It could not resist the attack of the Tree of World at all. With the suppression of the Tree of World, the power of the immortal tea tree decreased, and it began to weaken at a speed visible to the naked eye. If that was the case, it would be fine. At most, it would be like the 12 golden immortals of the Chan school who had their cultivation destroyed by the primordial chaos golden chalice. However, as long as they did not die, everything was still possible. As the cultivation dissipated, the soul of the immortal tea tree also dissipated. If the soul dissipated, it would disappear from the whole world. Now, not to mention devouring the Tree of World and breaking through the shackles, it could not even keep its life. The immortal tea tree could only bow its head under the eaves. Fellow Taoist, please be merciful. It's all my fault. Please be magnanimous and let me off. Unfortunately, Fang Qingshan was not a soft-hearted person. Since he had made a move, he naturally would not be soft-hearted. No, you can't kill me. If you kill me, without me to suppress the sea, I will riot, and all living things will be in misery. You will also be unlucky. Seeing that Fang Qingshan was not giving in, the immortal tea tree panicked. As it struggled, It continued to look for excuses to survive. Unless he completely fused the entire set of Fortune Divine Artifact 33 Heavens into his miniature world. Then there was the World Tree. His World Tree was not bad, but he was not afraid of people not knowing what was good. He was afraid of comparing the two. Compared to Feng Qingshan's World Tree, the difference was like heaven and earth. Now that he had taken out the sea-calming Divine Pearl, which was comparable to an immortal artifact, Feng Han could not help but feel emotional. He could be considered a treasure boy, but compared to Feng Qingshan, it was obviously not enough. Regardless of what Feng Han was thinking, at this moment, he suppressed the maelstrom and isolated the connection between the immortal tree and the maelstrom. Feng Qingshan could finally let go of his hands and feet. Feng Qingshan shook his body and turned into a towering giant. It was the great magical power of law phenomenon that the demon clan liked to use. In an instant, Feng Qingshan became the size of the immortal tree. He held the tree trunk with both hands and pulled it up with all his might. Rumble. For a moment, with the maelstrom as the center, everything within a radius of tens of millions of miles, even the entire outer seas, felt the tremor. Fortunately, the sea-calming Divine Pearl suppressed the maelstrom and did not riot. Otherwise, the monstrous karma alone would be enough to make Feng Qingshan suffer. Just as Feng Qingshan uprooted the immortal tree, the entire outer seas was alarmed, but they did not know what exactly happened. But 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island was different. Almost as soon as the outer seas shook, they knew that something must have happened to the maelstrom. In the beginning, they thought that Feng Qingshan and Feng Han were struggling. After all, although they were sucked into the maelstrom, the two of them were not completely suppressed. This was also the reason why they wanted to use the sea god sacrificial formation. Unfortunately, before they could launch their attack, Feng Qingshan and Feng Han's counterattack came ahead of time. Wan Yushu stretched out his hand and drew a circle in front of him. A huge mirror appeared in the air. It was the magical power, mirrored flowers, water moon. In the mirror, Feng Qingshan turned into an ancient giant and uprooted the immortal tree. He was immediately shocked. Oh no, I didn't expect them to have a way to suppress the maelstrom. What do we do now? What do we do? Of course, we have to save the immortal tree first. That's right. The immortal tree is not only a treasure that suppresses the maelstrom, but also the sea god pillar of 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island. It is the foundation of the island and cannot be destroyed. Seeing this scene, before Wan Yushu could speak, the supreme elders of 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island shouted in panic. If that's the case, then don't delay any longer. Attack now. Hearing this, Wan Yushu's face was also gloomy. He immediately launched an all-out attack. Living with the heavens and earth, he let out a long roar like a crane in the 9 heavens and a dragon roaring in the 4 seas. Then, thousands of elders, supreme elders, true disciples, and sect leader of 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island all erupted. However, an invisible pale white flame began to burn on everyone's body. However, what was strange was that the flames did not harm their bodies, nor did they burn their souls. As the flames burned, everyone began to age at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned out that the flames were burning their lifespans. Living with the heavens and earth. Although it sounded like immortality and immortality, it was impossible for one to live forever. Living with the heavens and earth, shining with the sun and moon. But to be honest, this was a move that was used to perish together. It was a desperate move that would destroy everything indiscriminately. Good heavens, in order to deal with Feng Qingshan and Feng Han, they had paid a huge price. Although the amount of lifespan burned by each of them could not compare to Feng Qingshan, who could easily burn hundreds of thousands of lifespan when he used the Little Destiny spell, they could not stop him in terms of numbers. One person, hundreds, thousands of people ignited at the same time, instantly turning into a torrent of flames. Go! Seeing the torrent of flames take shape, Wan Yushu's eyes flashed with a hint of fanaticism. If this power exploded, even a perfected immortal would have to retreat. As he guided the power, it instantly fell into an abyss. In this abyss, there were billions of living beings. They were the slaves, believers, and ordinary people that they had driven away and captured earlier. Chapter 522. Crack. Blood-colored lightning flashed in the void, and thunder rumbled. Crash. In an instant, countless raindrops fell from the sky. However, this rainwater was not ordinary rainwater. It was blood. Blood rain. True blood rain. It covered the sky and the earth, covering the entire sea. After all, 1,000,000 living beings had perished this time. Hongjun Tiandao was ruthless, but Hongjun Tiandao was equally fair. Apart from the sages, all living beings were probably the same in his eyes. But today, so many living beings had fallen. How could there be no reaction? One must know that for Hongjun Tiandao to improve and develop, the living creatures were also of utmost importance. Moreover, these living beings were not like the heavenly demons that Fong Han and the Dazai Divine Clan had sacrificed in the endless snow plains. They were living beings that were born and bred here. Fortunately, the karma of the immortal world is not obvious. If it is in the desolation world, not to mention the immortal island of 10,000 returns, even the sage may be knocked down. What's going on? Why are there so many changes in one day? First, there was an earthquake. Fortunately, it wasn't big and there was no tsunami. Now, there's lightning and blood rain. No matter how I look at it, it makes my heart palpitate. Could the celestial race have launched an attack? I don't think so. It should be the birth of some great devil. The commotion caused by the myriad Gwyn's immortal island was so great that the entire black-yellow great world was alarmed. Fortunately, the Great Tribulation was about to begin. Tribulation Chi filled the air and nothing could be divined. Moreover, from the time when Fang Qingshan uprooted the celestial tree to when Wan Yushu and the others sacrificed millions of lives, it seemed like a lot of time had passed. In fact, it happened in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint. No one had the chance to react at all. It was said that as the flood of flames fell into the abyss, millions of living beings died. Endless blood, souls, and lifespans were sacrificed. An aura from the ancient ocean materialized and spread out. In the void, in the depths of the sea, the sky, and the earth, the ancient power that had settled in the long river of history was summoned. It condensed into an incomparably huge sea emperor. However, it could be seen that this person was not smaller than the giant Fang Qingshan had transformed into, or the immortal tea tree, or the world tree. His entire body was azure blue, and his entire body was brimming with the aura of the origin of water in the world. Above this person's head, there was a scroll that unfurled like an epic river. It played out the lost ancient civilization, its creation, development, expansion, peak, decline, and in particular, his power was as vast and boundless as the ocean. Even Fang Qingshan felt a sense of pressure. Fortunately, it was just a wave of pressure. After all, this was just an illusory figure. Even though it had sacrificed countless years of lifespan and millions of lives, it was still an illusory figure. But what was Fang Qingshan's current cultivation? Earth immortal, that is equivalent to the immortal world, celestial immortal, the immortal cultivation base. Furthermore, that was only his cultivation level, not his combat power. Although Fang Qingshan was only an earthen immortal, his combat power was close to that of a true immortal. Therefore, although the appearance of the Sea Emperor attracted his attention, it was only because a lion would use its full strength to capture a rabbit. It was not enough to threaten him. Ancient Ocean Emperor, the founder of the ancient lost civilization. His cultivation was earth-shattering. However, as he ascended to the celestial world, the overseas civilization declined, and only a few people knew about it. And the sword in his hand was called the Fallen Sword. It was a king-grade immortal weapon, not inferior to the Spear of Vengeance summoned by Xian Wuqing. Of course, this was just an illusory figure. Fang Qingshan, Fang Han, hand over the immortal tree, your various treasures and opportunities, and your soul brand, or this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Just as one Yushu and the others sacrificed millions of lives to summon the Sea Emperor and the fallen sword, Fang Qingshan had already pulled the immortal tree out of the eye of the sea and thrown it into the innate small world. Wan Yushu and the others thought that with the illusory figure of the Sea Emperor and the fallen sword, it was as if everything was under their control and they were no longer worried about what Fang Qingshan could do. After all, although Fang Qingshan was powerful and had killed 3 Void Immortals, they at most thought that Fang Qingshan was the same as venerable Ling Long, standing at the peak of the true immortal realm. But the illusory figure of the Sea Emperor holding the fallen sword was comparable to a celestial immortal. If it was not for the fact that this was not a common method and could only be used as a trump card, Wan Yushu and the others might have challenged the position of the Greater One sect. A villain intoxicated by success. Fang Qingshan glanced at Wan Yushu indifferently, instantly making him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. If the true body of the ancient Sea Emperor personally descended to the mortal world, I might have to retreat, but now it's just an illusory figure, and it wants to take me down. It's simply a fool's dream. With that, Fang Qingshan ignored Wan Yushu and just gently shook his sleeve, releasing a black-robed Taoist. This person was no ordinary person, but the second primordial spirit doppelganger that Fang Qingshan had just successfully refined, Mosquito Dauren. This thing is obtained from the sacrifice of countless lives and countless living beings. Devouring it should also be beneficial to you. Go! As soon as the voice faded, Mosquito Dauren's body transformed, and countless blood-winged black mosquitoes flew out from his body, covering the sky and covering the sun, sweeping across the starry sky. The sound was like thunder, the mouth was like thunder, it penetrated the ground and was even more difficult to stop. It ate flesh and drank blood to invade the human body and feared the dense forest. The hotter it is, the more noisy it is, the more merciless the cold wind is. The Sea Emperor was lost because of the calamity. It was inevitable that thousands of mouths would come. Before the appearance of Mosquito Dauren, no one would have thought that there was such a character. His cultivation base was not high, but he could even bite through a treasure like the 12th-stage Golden Lotus. The ancient Sea Emperor was naturally the same. Although he saw that Mosquito Dauren's blood god's method was extraordinary, he did not take it seriously at all. But the lost sword in his hand flashed, rippling layers of sword chi. The Heavenly King 36 moves of Dragon, Slaying Emperor, a unique skill of the Heaven Realm. As this set of sword power unfolded, there was sword light everywhere, like gossamer, pervasive. The doppelgangers of Mosquito Dauren were almost all destroyed by the sword light. However, there were still fish that escaped the net. They avoided the sword chi and landed on the Sea Emperor, and even on the lost sword. Although he was a little surprised that a mere ant like a mosquito could break through his defense and devour his power, the Ocean Emperor still did not take them seriously. He only released his power and lightly shook his body, trying to shake them off or kill them. Unfortunately, it was completely useless. Moreover, Mosquito Dauren's doppelgangers seemed to be endless. There was no end to them, and there was no end to them. More and more mosquitoes bit the Sea Emperor's body. He finally realized that something was wrong. Unfortunately, it was too late. Especially when he was weak, he wanted to take his life. Mosquito Dauren's body moved, his body swayed, and his mouth part pierced. The Sea Emperor was like a deflated balloon. The origin power in his body was like the Milky Way falling to the mortal world, pouring into the ocean. His whole body became smaller and transparent at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a quarter of an hour, he disintegrated with a loud bang, turning into a downpour that sprinkled into the ocean. Chapter 523. Impossible. With the collapse of the ancient Ocean Emperor at this moment, the faith of all the people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island collapsed. No one was willing to believe everything in front of them. They closed their eyes, opened them again, closed them again, and so on, but they could not change the truth. The immortal tea tree that they relied on was uprooted by Fang Shan. The fallen sword, the king-grade celestial weapon that the primordial ocean monarch had summoned, was bitten to death by a mosquito that Fang Shan had released. What could be more ridiculous, more unbelievable, and more helpless than this moment? Despair was spreading, and the world was collapsing. The lower the disciples were fine, but the higher the cultivation, the more difficult it was to accept. In the blink of an eye, the myriad returning immortal island, one of the 10 great sects of the black-yellow great world, which ran amok in the sea, fell silent. It was not the kind of silence that could not be heard, but the kind that saw no hope, like the end of the world. There was nothing sadder than a dead heart. They did not even have the thought of asking the Greater One sect for help. After all, in the beginning, when Wan Yushu compromised and invited Fang Shan and Fang Shan to drink the immortal tea, he had already sent a voice transmission to the Greater One sect. If they received the message with their speed, it would only take them a short time to reach Myriad Gwyn's immortal island. However, until now, the people of the Greater One sect had not appeared. It was not that they had not received the message, but that they had already given up on Myriad Gwyn's immortal island. But no matter which one it was not good news for Myriad Gwyn's immortal island. If they did not receive it, it was obvious that Fang Shan and Fang Shan had sealed the space, and it would be useless to send another message. If they had already given up on Myriad Gwyn's immortal island, then sending another 10,000 messages for help would be like throwing a stone into the sea. Moreover, the strength and means that Fang Shan had shown had completely broken the will and pride of the people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island. They also did not think that the experts of the Greater One sect would be of any use. In fact, it was not only the people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island who were shocked by Fang Shan's actions. Even Fang Han was the same. He had already tried his best to overestimate Fang Shan. After all, Dazai Divine Lord and hundreds of millions of gods have been easily suppressed by Fang Shan. However, in the end, he had underestimated Fang Shan. To be honest, Fang Han was also shocked when he sacrificed millions of lives on Myriad returning immortal island. When he saw the summoned ancient Ocean King and the lost sword, Fang Han had already planned to retreat. However, the next scene not only made him dumbfounded, but it also made him feel a chill in his heart. The overwhelming attack was one thing, but the ability to ignore defenses and devour the heavens and the earth made Fang Han shudder. If he knew this was just a phantom, even the real ancient ocean emperor and the king-grade celestial weapon, the lost sword would be devoured if they did not pay attention to Taoist when he would not be so shocked. Putting all these aside, Taoist, when had devoured millions of lifespans on innumerable Gwyn's immortal island, sacrificed millions of living beings to summon the ancient sea emperor and the king-grade celestial artifact, the lost sword Shadow. However, it was only equivalent to a full meal and a small step forward in the itinerant immortal realm. The higher one's cultivation, the more resources they consumed, and this was especially true for Mosquito Dauren. Go, these people are all your food. Fang Shan shook his head. Every peck and every drink had its own destiny. Since Mosquito Dauren could advance without any bottlenecks, it was naturally impossible that there were no restrictions. Otherwise, how could Hongjun Tiandao allow him to come into being? After the chaos was broken and the world was created, even chaos spiritual treasures could not survive, let alone a person like Mosquito Dauren. Moreover, if Mosquito Dauren did not need so many resources with his fast advancement, why would he be afraid of Mingi? Why would he fall into his hands? Devour them? Upon hearing Fang Shan's words, Mosquito Dauren frowned. It was not that he did not want to devour them, nor was it useless to devour them, but he was a little afraid. After all, Mosquito Dauren was born in the world of desolation, so he was most afraid of karma. Even Mingi, who had the red lotus of fire, did not dare to act recklessly, let alone him. According to Mosquito Dauren's understanding, he was not favored by Hongjun Tiandao. If he dared to go on a killing spree, he was afraid that the wrath of heaven would fall immediately. "Don't worry, you and I are one. How can I harm myself?" Upon seeing this, Fang Qingshan could not help but comfort him. At the same time, he muttered in his heart, "If it weren't for the fact that you need so many resources, I wouldn't have to be so meticulous." The 1-meter higher sky. The purpose of robbing Myriad Gwyn's immortal island was to establish a sect and accumulate resources. Therefore, the resources of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island could not be left to Mosquito Dowrin. The only thing that could be left to him was the people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island. For Fang Qingshan, these people were tasteless, but it was a pity to abandon them. They were completely useless. Although he could completely convert them and provide them with wish power for himself, Fang Qingshan felt disgusted to sell them and let them count the money for him. As for letting them go, it was even more impossible. As the saying goes, weeds will grow again if the roots are not removed. Although he was not afraid of revenge, he was afraid of trouble. Naturally, he wanted to get rid of them once and for all. Therefore, he could only kill them in the end. Since he was going to kill them, leaving them for Mosquito Dowrin to devour could be regarded as making use of waste. As for devouring so many people, the karma was monstrous, and it was enough for Fang Qingshan to suffer. First of all, this was the immortal world, not the world of desolation, so the karma was not so significant. Secondly, it was already a great calamity. In a great calamity, there was no need to worry about killing. Of course, the most important point was that the people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island were courting death. Who told them to sacrifice millions of lives before? If there was karma, then they would have committed a heinous crime. In Mosquito, Dowrin devouring them was to punish evil and promote good, to enforce justice on behalf of heaven. Not only was there no fault, but it was also meritorious. After listening to Fang Qingshan's explanation, Mosquito Dowrin came to a sudden realization. Then, he looked at one Yushu and the others with shining eyes. These are not just delicious food, but also cultivation resources. Buzz, buzz. Countless mosquitoes once again flew out of Mosquito Dorn's body and flew towards all the people of Myriad Gwyn's immortal island. Then there was no then. In just a moment, the entire Guizhong continent had completely turned into a dead land. As for Mosquito Dowrin, his aura naturally increased a little, and he was only one step away from becoming an Earth Immortal. Seeing this, Fang Han could not help but shiver and subconsciously avoided Mosquito Dowrin. Seeing this, the corners of Fang Qingshan's mouth could not help but curl up slightly. Being able to scare Fang Han was also a kind of ability. With a wave of his hand, Mosquito Dowrin was kept in the innate small world. Then, Fang Qingshan shook his hand and shot out the yellow river of the 9 bands. With a shake and a roll, the 9 heavens yellow dragon flew out and dragged the Guizhong continent in. Then, Fang Qingshan waved his hand and took back the sea calming pearl. Chapter 524. Third Young Master. How about we go to the Netherworld Devil Sect? Just as Fang Qingshan packed up the Myriad Gwyn's immortal island and was about to take Fang Han to the Sun Moon Void to investigate the location of the sect, Fang Han suddenly spoke. Netherworld Devil Sect. Fang Qingshan raised his eyebrows and his heart skipped a beat. Although the Netherworld Devil Sect had declined since the Emperor of Netherworld, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. It was still one of the top demonic sects, no worse than Wangui Immortal Island. Especially Su Xiui, who held the Earth Emperor's book and had a fight with Ing Xiantian at the Holy Mountain of Diabolism, Song Mountain, to compete for the title of the #1 demonic cultivator. More importantly, the Netherworld Devil Sect had 7 constabularies, 3 treasuries, and one of the 10 secret treasuries in the Xianhuang Great World, the Netherworld Treasury. Although the Netherworld Treasury might not be as good as the Tianwu Treasury and the Misty Treasury, it was not easy to be ranked among them. If he could get it, he could not only accumulate more resources for the sect, but also have the resources for Mosquito Dowrin to break through to the Earth Immortal Realm. Seeing Fang Qingshan's expression change, Fong Han persisted. I need the Earth Emperor's book to fuse with the diagram of Netherworld and become a celestial artifact. As long as Third Young Master helps me get the Earth Emperor's book, I won't take anything else, including the Netherworld treasury. Oh, are you serious? Hearing this, Fong Qingshan's eyes lit up. To open the Netherworld treasury, the diagram of Netherworld and the keys of the Netherworld Devil Sect's Hall Masters were needed. As for the other keys, Fong Qingshan could easily retrieve them. It didn't matter even if he didn't have them. However, the diagram of Netherworld was Fong Han's treasure, and he had been regarded as the successor of the Emperor of Netherworld since he entered the cultivation world. More importantly, they were on the same side, so Fong Qingshan could not take it by force. But now that Fong Han had said so, it would be strange if Fong Qingshan did not have any ideas. It would have been fine in the past, but now that there was a big eater like Mosquito Dowrin, Fong Qingshan had to be careful. Absolutely. Fong Han nodded solemnly. Even though the Netherworld Devil Sect and Netherworld Treasury were precious, they were nothing compared to an immortal equipment. Of course, it was not that Fong Han looked down on other resources. However, if they wanted to obtain the Earth Emperor's book, they would have to rely on Fong Qingshan. Although Fong Han's cultivation level had improved greatly, he was no weaker than a pseudo-immortal. However, he couldn't guarantee that he would be able to obtain the Earth Emperor's book by himself. After all, it was easy to defeat Su Xiui, but it was not easy to suppress him. The status of the Earth Emperor's book in the Black-Yellow Great World was practically equivalent to that of the Earth Emperor's book in the Desolation World. Standing on the ground and in the Black-Yellow Great World, its defense was naturally unparalleled. Moreover, if Su Xiui wanted to escape, Fong Han could not stop him. However, when he thought about how Fong Qingshan had killed 3 hollow immortals in a row, and how he had sacrificed millions of living beings to summon the shadow of the Ocean King, he realized that it had been easily crushed by him. Fong Han finally saw the hope of obtaining the Earth Emperor's book. If he wanted a horse to run, there was no grass. Since he needed Fong Qingshan's strength, Fong Han naturally would not let Fong Qingshan return empty-handed. If that's the case, what are we waiting for? Let's go. Hearing Fong Han's affirmative answer, Fong Qingshan laughed. His hands tore open the void in front of him, revealing a passage. He stepped into it and disappeared in an instant. Fong Han shook his head. He did not expect Fong Qingshan to be more anxious than him. He hurriedly executed the greater teleportation technique and followed closely behind, rushing towards the Netherworld Devil Sect. Something's not right. After leaving the sea and returning to land, Fong Qingshan and Fong Han arrived at the vast sea desert. Just as they were about to go to the underground Netherworld world, they suddenly realized that something was amiss. What's wrong? Third Young Master. Fong Han followed behind Fong Qingshan and asked after hearing Fong Qingshan's surprise. See for yourself. Fong Qingshan pointed at the scene in front of him with a serious expression. When Fong Han heard this, he looked around and found that something was wrong. It turned out that along the way, there was no rooster crowing for 1,000 miles. Although the vast sea desert was desolate, it was not uninhabited. But now, there was no sign of life. Not to mention humans, there were no other intelligent creatures. The two entered the underground world through a crack created by a sword, and found that the situation was similar. Originally, there were countless monsters, underground demons, yakshas, flying yakshas, asuras, great asuras, and many other demons and magical beasts. But now it was also empty. The first level, the second level, the third level, along the way, they seemed to have entered a land of death. Other than the cold nature, there were no other intelligent creatures. Looks like it was taken away by someone. After a while, Fong Qingshan and Fong Han confirmed it. If it was destroyed by someone, it would not be so clean, and there was no smell of blood. Did the demons run away? Fong Han guessed. That's possible. Fong Qingshan nodded. After all, the calamity was coming, and the divine race was about to attack. The divine race was the mortal enemy of all living beings in the universe. It made people gnash their teeth in hatred, but also fear them. The Void God realm could almost challenge the celestial realm. The black-yellow Great Realm was the number one of the 3,000 Great Realms. The reason why it had declined was because of the divine race's invasion in ancient times. At that time, the black-yellow Great Realm still had the World Tree, Primordial Chaos Taoist, Reincarnation Taoist, the Three Sovereigns, and many experts. But now, not to mention experts like Primordial Chaos Taoist, even a Heaven Immortal from the lower realm. As for immortal artifacts, the only one that could be used was the eternal divine furnace of the Greater One sect. In ancient times, the Emperor Mirror, Earth Emperor's Book, and Emperor Brush in the hands of the Three Sovereigns were all immortal artifacts. Comparing the two, the difference was like heaven and earth. It was no wonder that the other party had fled. Although they could understand it rationally, they might not be able to accept it emotionally. Everything in the world nourished people, but people had nothing to repay the heavens. Heaven and earth gave birth to all things, but when the world encountered a great tribulation, they became deserters. Although Fang Qingshan would not despise them, he did not like such people. Moreover, the Great Tribulation was also a great opportunity. It was just like how there was a great horror between life and death. If one did not die after experiencing life and death, they would definitely gain a lot of benefits. It was the same principle to escape unscathed after experiencing the Great Tribulation. As long as one could successfully pass the test of the Great Tribulation, one's willpower, cultivation level, realm, and other aspects could be improved qualitatively. In addition, since it was a great tribulation, they could not avoid it. Just like the disciples of the Jia school, at first, the Grand Master of Heaven asked them to close the cave door and recite the 3 golden court scrolls. Unfortunately, they were involved in the Great Tribulation in the end. Chapter 525. Although the black-yellow Great World was a great world, there was no netherworld. In the past, the Yellow Spring Grand Emperor wanted to refine the Yellow Springs diagram and use the Great Reincarnation technique to construct reincarnation. Unfortunately, he failed. As a result, not only did he suffer a calamity, but the Yellow Springs diagram was also reduced in grade. The Yellow Springs Demon Sect also declined. The Yellow Springs Demon Sect was located in the 9 Nether, which was equivalent to the netherworld of the black-yellow Great World. Although there was no reincarnation here, there were still ghosts and immortals. These ghosts and immortals were the remnant spirits of countless powerful creatures that had fallen. They entered the underground and gathered the evil energy of the 9 Nether. All kinds of evil spirits condensed into a tyrannical existence. Their will and the source of the black-yellow Great World were combined into one. It was equivalent to being raised in the depths of the Great World. Although there seemed to be no masters in the black-yellow Great World on the surface. The sect masters of the Emergent Sect, Astral Sect, and Myriad Returns Immortal Island were only at the World King realm, and the most powerful highest elder was only at the Chaos Hole realm. However, the depth of their heritage was extraordinary. Not to mention the 7 mansions, 3 treasuries, and 1 treasure trove. Just these ghosts and immortals of the 9 Nether were comparable to hollow immortals, true immortals, and even higher existences. However, these existences could not be summoned. They cultivated alone in the depths of the 9 Nether. In order to summon them, besides the will of the black-yellow Great World, there was another way. That was to learn the Great Summoning Technique. With this, one could summon the corresponding powerful ghosts and immortals to help them. As Fang Qingshan and Fang Han went deeper and deeper into the ground, Fang Qingshan and Fang Han started to move. Layers of ink-black airflow shrouded the 9 Nether, making it look like the yellow springs of the netherworld, gloomy and cold. If one did not cultivate a special cultivation method, even if they were not crushed into slag, they would not be able to display even half of their strength. At the same time, it was as vast as the sea and gave people a sense of serenity, as if this was the home of everyone. However, this kind of influence could not affect people like Fang Qingshan and Fang Han, who had high cultivation and willpower. The two only sensed the many ghosts and immortals lurking in the dark, and then followed the guidance of the Yellow Springs diagram artifact spirit Yin to the netherworld demon sex lair, Wandering Soul Pass. Wandering Soul Pass. It was not the Wandering Soul Pass in the world of gods, but the base of the netherworld demon sect, located in the middle of the 9 underworlds. It was different from other sections. For example, the emergent sect's core component, or even its entire body, was actually the emergence heavenly palace. The astral sect was an immemorial meteorite. The 10,000 Gwyn's immortal island was the Gue Zong continent. These sects were all peerless Grey Dao artifacts that could be transferred at any time. However, the Netherworld Devil sect was different. It was not a supreme Grey Dao artifact, so it could not be taken away. Moreover, the Netherworld treasury was located in the Wandering Soul Pass behind the Devil sect. It was a huge treasury that was closely connected to the countless spaces in the 9 Netherland. Compared to the mysteriousness of the Grand Mist treasury and Misty treasure vault, the Tianwu treasury was protected by the Sun-Moon tide. Speaking of which, the Yellow Springs treasury was the easiest to open. However, a key was needed to open the treasury, which was the key of the diagram of the Underworld and the Hall Masters of the Netherworld Devil sect. As long as all of them were gathered, it would be much easier to open the other 3 treasuries. Although the Netherworld Devil sect was guarding it, it was much simpler than the Sun-Moon tide. If one used brute force, not only would they not be able to open it, but the losses would outweigh the gains. It was a pity that the Hall Masters had the keys, but the diagram of the Underworld disappeared after the fall of the Netherworld Emperor. In the end, it was obtained by a disciple of the Astral Sect, and after many twists and turns, it fell into the hands of Feng Han. Then, Feng Han used the diagram of the Underworld to start his life. However, as Feng Han's cultivation increased, and he obtained more and more treasures, although the diagram of the Underworld became a supreme Grey Dao artifact, it was now used like an ordinary artifact. Unless the diagram of the Underworld merged with the Earth Emperor's book and transformed into an immortal artifact, it would not have any advantage over Feng Han's 8-divisional pagoda. In particular, the artifact spirit of the diagram of the Underworld, Yin, did not wholeheartedly support Feng Han. In his heart, his master would always be the Netherworld Emperor, so he could not blame Feng Han for not paying attention to him. The 9 Netherland was indeed the lair of the Netherworld Devil sect, and it was also the place where evildoers had been exiled since ancient times. Once inside, even if Fang Qingshan wanted to use spatial shift, he would have to spend some effort. I wonder if Su Xiui escaped. After entering the 9 Netherland, Feng Han suddenly realized a serious problem. Since so many demons and ghosts had disappeared, did the Netherworld Devil sect run away too? If the Netherworld Devil sect ran away, Su Xiui must have followed. If he left, how could he find the Earth Emperor's book? Let's go and take a look first. If he left, we'll break into the Netherworld's treasure vault first. Fang Qingshan frowned when he heard this. Feng Han could only nod helplessly when he heard this. If it were in the past, Fang Qingshan and Feng Han might have to expiate some ghosts and deities. But now, one was thinking about the Earth Emperor's book, and the other was thinking about the Netherworld Devil sect and the Netherworld's treasure vault. No one was in the mood to care about anything else. Moreover, these ghosts and deities had existed for such a long time, so it was not a big deal to slow down. They could not run away anyway. After floating through thousands of different spaces, just as they were about to reach the Netherworld Devil sect, Fang Qingshan suddenly waved his hand and stopped in his tracks. He looked ahead with a serious expression. What's wrong? Third young master? Seeing Fang Qingshan's behavior, Feng Han could not help but be surprised. He looked around but did not find anything, so he could only ask. Shoo! Fang Qingshan raised his index finger and shook his head. Follow me. As he spoke, Fang Qingshan used the great lurking technique and tried his best to conceal his aura. Then, he approached a different space. Feng Han naturally followed suit. After passing through the layers of space once again, Feng Han finally sensed it. In the depths of an alternate dimension, countless powerful auras gathered, rising and falling one after another. These auras, The weakest one was actually at the World King realm. Good heavens! Fong Han could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. His cultivation was only at the World King realm. Even the sect leaders of the top 10 immortal Dao sects in the black-yellow great world were not at this level. However, there were so many people gathered here, and the weakest one was at the World King realm. Where did these people come from? Why would they appear in the Nine Netherland? What are they trying to do? A few thoughts emerged in Fong Han's mind. Third young master, what do we do now? Although Fong Han was bold, he could not help but panic in the face of such a sudden situation. Let's wait and see. Maybe we can make a fortune. Fong Qingshan did not have Fong Han's worries. His eyes lit up as if he saw a shining mountain of gold. Chapter 5:26. Sky City. It was a peerless Tao artifact that had survived the Thunder Tribulation. It was a treasure similar to the Yellow Springs diagram and the Mortal Life Seal. Its power was even above that of the Guizhong continent that Fong Qingshan had just obtained. It was the most precious treasure of the whirling world, the floating city. Its fame had spread far and wide since ancient times. Not only were there dragons, phoenixes, kuin pungs, vermilion birds, black tortoises, chilants, great rocks, and other divine beasts, there were also arhats, vajras, Jianan, protectors, and other golden Buddha statues. They were constantly singing sacred, vast, and majestic sutras. At this moment, experts from the 5 great worlds, including the Virtue Great World, the Xinling Great World, the Boundless Great World, the Whirling Great World, and the Sacred Light Great World, had gathered in Sky City. In particular, these 5 worlds were ranked in the top 10 of the 3,000 great worlds. Looking at the Sacred Light Great World that Fong Qingshan was most familiar with, good heavens, there was a perfected immortal, 5 false immortals, more than 40 chaotic whole experts, and 50 to 60 world kings. Just this force alone was enough to sweep away any force from the black-yellow great world, except for the Greater One sect. And the Sacred Light Great World could only be considered a low-ranked existence among the 5 great worlds. The strength of any of the other great worlds was not inferior to the Sacred Light Great World. 5 perfected immortals, dozens of false immortals, hundreds of chaotic whole experts, and even more world king subordinates. It was really amazing. With a perfected immortal as the leader, false immortals as support, and chaotic whole experts and world kings as fighters, if not for the fact that the Greater One sect had celestial immortal emissaries from the immortal world. Once a conflict broke out, even if they had immortal artifacts, they would only be able to flee. And this was because the black-yellow great world was a fat piece of meat that could be easily obtained, like a shark that had smelled blood. But to see the whole picture, one could imagine how great the native forces of these great worlds were. Thinking back to ancient times, how glorious the black-yellow great world, known as the number 1 world in all the heavens, was. Compared to the current number 1 major world in the myriad celestial planes, the central world, there were countless experts, heavenly immortals, and even divine immortals. There was no lack of mystic immortals. Rumor had it that there was a peerless existence at the gold immortal stage who could link up to the immortal plane and obtain its recognition. It was somewhat similar to how the world tree of the Xianhuang Great World could link up to the immortal plane. It was a transcendent existence. But compared to the ancient Xuanhuan Great World, which could challenge the majesty of the immortal world, it was still a far cry. When the world tree was at its peak, it was no weaker than a heavenly lord or even a celestial king. In the ancient war, although the Xuanhuan Great World had not been conquered, it had still been destroyed. The world tree had been cut down, and experts from all walks of life had either died, escaped, or ascended. The number 1 expert in the heavens had fallen to some unknown corner. From this, it could be seen that the power of the god race was not to be underestimated. Fong Qingshan could not help but feel a little heavy in his heart. As the saying goes, the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. Even if the sky collapsed, the tallest person would be the first to hold it up. Fong Qingshan's cultivation had already stood at the top of the black-yellow great world. Whether he was willing or not, he was the target of the god race. Moreover, He wanted to take advantage of the great calamity to make a fortune from the war. No matter what, he would have to go against the god race. For a moment, he could not help but feel pressured. It seems that improving the strength of Mosquito Dowrin is imminent. Fong Qingshan could not help but rub the space between his eyebrows. He had the yellow river of the Nine Bends, and he dared to fight even against a golden immortal. But formations were like magic treasures. No matter how good a formation was, the cultivation of the person using it had to keep up. Take the immortal slaying sword formation, for example. In ancient times, the demon ancestor Ro had set up the immortal slaying sword formation, but it had been broken by a few sages-to-be from Hongjun. When it came to Tongtian, Laozi, and the four saints of the primordial world were needed to break the formation. Fong Qingshan's yellow river of the Nine Bends was indeed powerful, but he himself was only an earthly immortal. Although his combat strength was comparable to that of a celestial immortal and close to that of a perfected immortal, it did not have much effect on the formation. Moreover, although the god race could not compare to when they attacked the black-yellow great world in ancient times, they still had no shortage of golden immortal experts. Therefore, the top priority was to improve his strength. Although Fong Qingshan could also improve his strength, it was obvious that if he used resources in a short period of time, it would shake his foundation. It was not conducive to long-term development, and the disadvantages outweighed the advantages. Fortunately, he still had Mosquito Dowrin. Although it would consume a little more resources, he did not have to worry about the instability of his realm. As long as there were enough resources, he could continue to improve. As for resources, looking at the Sky City in the distance, Fong Qingshan could not help but reveal a strange smile. No matter how frightened Fong Han was, no matter how greedy Fong Qingshan was, at this moment, the people of the five great worlds were in a heated debate. A family can't be without a leader, and a country can't be without a king. Although we are just an alliance, a snake can't be without a head. Then who will be the leader of our five great worlds? I think our whirling great world should be the leader. Whirling great world. Our moral great world is the most suitable. The perfected immortals and hollow immortals of the five great worlds did not speak, but the chaotic whole and realm kings below were talking at once. Humph! It seems that everyone knows that our black-yellow great world is about to face a great calamity, so they want to take advantage of the situation and divide the treasures of our world. Hearing the unscrupulous voices of the people of the five great worlds, Fong Han could not help but look ugly after the initial shock. If you fall behind, you'll be beaten. Who told the black-yellow great world to be a pushover? Moreover, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. He has many treasures but no strength, so he can't blame others for coveting them. Fong Qingshan said indifferently. Whether or not they coveted them was secondary. The key was whether or not they could really get their hands on them. The Tinwu treasury had already been taken by him, and the Yellow Springs treasury was already his. As for the Grand Mist treasury and Misty treasure vault, it wasn't time for Fong Qingshan to reveal himself yet. As for the remaining 7 manors, Fong Qingshan had a 90% chance of winning. Therefore, he didn't mind others talking about it. All right, let's not talk about the leader for now. Don't forget why we came to the black-yellow great world. At this time, a perfected immortal spoke up. It was a woman from the whirling great world, but no one dared to look down on her, because she was the daughter of the whirling great world's leader. It could be said that she was second only to the leader of the whirling great world. Such a person had both strength and background. Therefore, as soon as she spoke, everyone fell silent. That's right. We are not here to be the leader, but to fight for opportunities. Sacred Light, Great Worlds Perfected Immortal Heavenly Dipper quickly echoed. Among the 5 great worlds, their Sacred Light Great World was the weakest and had the least hope of fighting for the leader position. Therefore, he did not want to have someone above him controlling him. He quickly echoed Perfected Immortal Heavenly Dipper and changed the topic. Chapter 5:27. Humph, easy for you to say. At this time, the genuine immortal of the boundless world also spoke. It's said that the Emperor of Netherworld's treasury is in the Wandering Soul Pass. But what about now? We haven't even seen a shadow. We can't find it even after using the great divine sense to search the world. Why don't we decide who will be the leader? Haha, the Netherworld treasury is one of the most important treasures in the black-yellow great world, above the 7 prefectures and on par with the Misty treasury and the Tianwu treasury. If it was so easy to find and obtain, it wouldn't have waited for us. Sheng Tiangang laughed. You should know that when the Emperor of the Netherworld ascended, he combined his power with the reincarnation Taoists and became a Lord of Heaven in a single bound. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and tried to challenge the majesty of creation and was killed by the treasure of the 33 heavens, I'm afraid he would have become an overlord in the heaven realm by now. How can the treasury left by such an existence be underestimated? After a pause, as if waiting for them to digest, he continued, the reason why we can't find the Netherworld's treasury is that it has been hidden by the origin Qi. To open the treasury, we need several things. One is the Emperor of Netherworld's most precious treasure, the Flood Dragon Underworld painting. The other is the keys that are still in the hands of the temple masters of the Netherworld Devil sect. Of course, the most important thing is the Underworld painting. With them, it will be easy to open the treasury and obtain the treasures. After talking for so long, it's all nonsense. Where's the Yellow Springs painting? The genuine immortal of the Xinling Great World could not help but roll his eyes. It's in Fang Han's hands, Sheng Tiangang said. Fang Han, hearing this, they almost subconsciously began to calculate, trying to find traces of Fang Han and capture him in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, Fang Qingshan was beside Fang Han and would not allow anyone to humiliate him. Fang Han not only had the aura of fate, but also the fate of creation, which was enough to make them return empty-handed. Huh, interesting. This Fang Han is interesting. Not bad. You're actually able to make us not calculate anything. Just this alone is already very good. In particular, during the process of our calculations, there was actually a force of fate interfering. Not only the force of fate, but also the force of creation. All right, it's just a Yellow Springs treasury. If I can't get it, then so be it. At this moment, the true immortal of the moral world spoke. Hee, one impressive moral world. They don't even care about the Yellow Springs treasury. I wonder what would be able to move your heart. Sheng Tiangang couldn't help saying sarcastically. The primordial hidden treasure, of course. Dao Yun glanced coldly at Sheng Tiangang and said arrogantly. He then flipped his hand over, and a fruit radiating with boundless golden light appeared in his palm. Fruit of wishes. Everyone cried out in unison when they saw this item. The object was in the shape of a gourd and was about the size of a palm. There were mountains, rivers, grass, trees, flowers, birds, fishes, insects, and countless other creatures worshipping the fruit devoutly. Golden will power continuously gathered and condensed. This is a fruit refined by the ancient primordial Taoist using the Great Wish Art. Rumor has it that once one obtains this fruit, one will be able to make all sorts of wishes come true. At this moment, Yin in Fang Han's body and the celestial tree in Fang Qingshan's body started explaining the preciousness of this item to them. Of course, although this item is magical, it can't defy the natural order. It has 2 main uses. One is to help people condense their willpower and reach the realm of one thought birth. The other is to find the primordial hidden treasure through this item, which is similar to the Misty token. Fang Qingshan couldn't help but nod in understanding. Buddhism cultivates the willpower, which is the best for willpower. Although the primordial Taoist wasn't a Buddhist cultivator, he also cultivated the willpower, so it wasn't surprising that he could increase his willpower. As for the item being used as a token, it wasn't surprising at all. The Misty token, the Great Desolation Ancient Furnace, the Yellow Springs diagram, and so on, these so-called senior experts liked this the most. While Fang Qingshan and Fang Han were listening to the old monsters in their bodies, the eyes of the others in the 5 major worlds lit up, except for those in the moral world. Indeed, compared to the Yellow Springs treasure vault, The primordial hidden treasure was much more precious. Moreover, they couldn't find any traces of the Yellow Springs treasure vault, but with the fruit of desire, they might have a chance to find the primordial hidden treasure. Therefore, they couldn't help but ask the perfected immortal Tao Weiyuan from the moral world to hand over the fruit of desire and search for the primordial hidden treasure together. Tao Weiyuan wasn't a fool, so he naturally wouldn't take out his treasure and share it with others for no reason. Just as they were haggling over the price, a sudden change occurred. Originally, the people standing behind Tao Weiyuan should be people from the moral world. Since they were brought by Tao Weiyuan to participate in such an important operation, they were obviously trusted people. However, at this moment, one of the chaotic whole realm experts suddenly jumped up and grabbed the fruit of desire in Tao Weiyuan's hand. For a moment, demonic sounds entered their ears, and all kinds of heavenly demons appeared. It was as if they had arrived at the heavenly demon kingdom in an instant, and a supreme demon lord had appeared. This sudden change had obviously greatly exceeded everyone's expectations, and it caught them off guard. Not to mention the ordinary world kings, chaotic whole realm experts, and even the 5 perfected immortals who were leading the group couldn't help but be stunned. Although they were only stunned for a moment, they regained their senses in a split second. However, in a fight between experts, victory or defeat was often decided in a split second. The fruit of desire had already changed hands. Although they were only fighting for the fruit of desire, the 5 perfected immortals, including Sheng Tiangang, couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. What if he launched a sneak attack on them? Therefore, they couldn't help but be furious when they regained their senses. Not only was it because of the fruit of desire, but it was also because this person's concealment skills were so good that they couldn't even find a trace of him. Such a person couldn't be allowed to live. Without any delay, the 5 perfected immortals attacked almost at the same time when they regained their senses. A dazzling brilliance bloomed like the beginning of the world. God said that there should be light, which pierced through the darkness and illuminated everything. There was a vast righteousness cleansing, and every word was a gem. There was a moral essay that enlightened all living beings, and everyone was like a dragon. There was a Buddha's radiance that illuminated the world and people. There was the 7 treasure forest, the 8 virtues pool, the 9 lotus platform, the 10 directions world, and the pure land of bliss. There was an infinite number of stars that spread out and formed a boundless starry sky. There were countless grains of sand in the Ganges River, and the stars were scattered all over the place. There was a rainbow light that lingered like a dream, illusory and real. It was lively and mysterious. The 5 perfected immortals attacked at the same time. If it wasn't for the fact that this was the 9 underworlds, the heaven and earth would have collapsed, and the mountains and rivers would have been shattered. Even so, the alternate dimensions were destroyed one after another. When the aftermath dissipated, many powerful ghosts and deities hiding in them were affected. Chapter 528. 5 perfected immortals attacked at the same time. Their speed and power were rare in the world. Even a true celestial immortal would have to retreat. Without treasures, they might even be seriously injured if they were careless. Tao Weiyuan and the others were not ordinary perfected immortals, although they were still a distance away from figures like Venerable Linglong. However, as an outstanding prodigy from one of the top 10 worlds in the 3,000 great worlds, he was naturally not an ordinary person, especially the perfected immortal of the whirling world, who was the daughter of the whirling world's lord. Although the whirling world and the other 4 worlds were not as good as the central world, they had golden immortals and were recognized by the immortal world. However, ordinary celestial immortals, and Shin immortals were not bad either. Those who attained immortal status in the lower realms were often superior to experts of the same level in the world of immortals. How could a proud son of heaven who grew up in such an environment be ordinary? However, just when the 5 of them thought that they had it in the bag, an accident happened. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will always be victorious. They were well aware of their own strength, but they did not know the enemy's skills. Demon Mind Old Man. Yes, The one who snatched the fruit of desire was Demon Mind Old Man. Both Fang Qingshan and Fang Han were familiar with this person. After Venerable Ling Long's birthday banquet, Demon Mind Old Man had helped Fang Han when he was chased by some experts. Demon Mind Old Man had also contributed to Fang Qingshan's success in taking advantage of the chaos in the boundless world. It was also because of that battle that Demon Mind Old Man obtained the Boundless Star Map, an immortal artifact, which allowed him to recover his cultivation and advance to the next level. This person was an old demon like Demon Venerable Scarlet Abyss and a peerless genius like Venerable Ling Long. Although Dao Weiyuan and the others were not bad, it was impossible for them to capture him. Demon Mind Old Man cultivated the demonic Dao, the most mysterious and unpredictable demonic Dao, the demonic heart Dao. Putting everything else aside, just the substitution of people and the manipulation of people's hearts were no worse than the Buddhist grand salvation technique. The Tao declines and the demons grow, wreak havoc. In the face of everyone's attacks, Old Man Mental Demon did not dare to be careless and attacked with all his might. With a stomp of his foot, a hexagram array appeared. At the same time, Old Man XMO stood on each of the 6 corners. They looked illusory and real at the same time. No one knew which one was the real one. This was also a clone technique called the Primordial 6 Paths Immortal Technique. It was superior to the 9 Pure Ones Immortal Technique that Mi Bao used in the Endless Snowfield. After all, the single breath of 9 Purities Great Immortal Art only required 9 of the 3,000 Great Tao Mystic Arts. However, this magic actually required 36 of the 3,000 Great Tao to be fused into one. Furthermore, it had to be refined into 5 clones that were one with the body, fusing with the primordial devil, swallowing the heavens and earth, dominating rivers and mountains. The 6 of them made a move at the same time, and they executed the grand heart magic that was closest to the quintessence of devils. They communicated with the quintessence of devils and summoned a horde of devils. For a time, the cries of a myriad of ghosts and gods resounded in the sky, and it seemed as if the 9th underworld was about to transform into an endless abyss of devils and a boundless hell of devils. Saint Demon, Dao, Lin, and the others were shocked when they sensed Old Man Xianmo's aura. It's not a Saint Demon. It's just half a step in. It's not complete yet. However, they immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Saint Demons were heavenly immortals. Heavenly immortals weren't scary, because it wasn't difficult for them to defeat ordinary heavenly immortals. What was scary were peerless old demons like Old Man Ximo. Once a genius broke through, his combat power would be completely different. Old Man XMO, how dare you try to snatch the fruit of desire right in front of the 5 great worlds? It seems like you really don't care about us. Dao Weiyuan's eyes flashed with a cold light as he stared at Old Man Ximo. He had really embarrassed himself today. He actually allowed someone to snatch the fruit of desire from his hands so openly. If he couldn't snatch it back and word got out, he would really become a laughingstock. Everyone, the fruit of desire is very important to me, and I'm only borrowing it for a while. I'll definitely return it in the future. Old Man Ximo dealt with them while using both the carrot and the stick. If you insist on making things difficult for me, who knows when your disciples and relatives will cultivate in the future? They'll be plagued by inner demons. Hearing Old Man Ximo's words, Sheng Tiangang and the others couldn't help but laugh out of anger. Good heavens, the fruit of desire is important to you, but isn't it important to us? You'll even return what you borrowed? Now that such a treasure had fallen into their hands, they absolutely wouldn't be able to take it back. Moreover, when he said borrow, was this really borrow? This was blatant robbery. The most shameful thing was that he actually dared to threaten them. Good. Old Man Ximo, you're simply lawless. If we don't take care of you today, I'm afraid that everyone will dare to bully us in the future. This time, even the indifferent true immortals of the whirling great world couldn't maintain their calm. As the 5 of them joined forces, in addition to the many void immortals, black hole immortals, and world kings working together, for a time. Even old man Mo couldn't help but be in danger, and he was even directly blown up. Fortunately, the heart demon was formless and unpredictable. Although he was blown up, it wouldn't take his life. However, old man Mo knew that if he didn't use some tricks, let alone escaping with the fruit of desire, even keeping his life would be a problem. "You forced me to do this." A cold light flashed in old man Mo's eyes. With a long cry, the demonic energy in his body surged, and a door faintly took shape. "Not good, everyone, hurry up and stop him." Seeing that old man Mo seemed to be about to use a big move, Sacred Heavenly Dipper and the others felt their hearts palpitate. "Great Treasury Void, seal the divine treasury." Ksana Divine Fist. 10,000 Buddhas greeting the sect. Heavenly stars. Immeasurable light, immeasurable life. For a time, billions of divine splendor and rainbow-colored light burst out. Divine abilities were immeasurable, and divine might was like a prison. Naive. Seeing this scene, old man Mo sneered. As soon as his voice fell, a demon gate hung high behind him. It was 30,000 feet tall, and on the gate were all flashing demonic eyes. There were a total of 3,000 eyes, fully displaying the true meaning of the demonic path. Heaven and Earth Demon Gate. This wasn't some great divine ability or great immortal technique. It was just a space gate. However, one end of the space gate was connected to the netherworld realm, and the other end was connected to the demonic world. The central region of the demonic world was a headache for the immortal world. It was an existence that they had always wanted to destroy, but couldn't. Now that old man Mo had opened the demon gate, he wanted to borrow the help of the countless powerful demons of the demonic world, fish in troubled waters, and escape without a trace. Chapter 529. The Heaven and Earth Demon Gate connected both ends. The floating city howled, and countless demons were like dogs. As the Heaven and Earth Demon Gate opened, densely packed sky fiends, demon gods, and even more powerful demon sovereigns swarmed over like sharks that had smelled blood. Just like the celestial race, the demons from the fiend realm wanted to invade the 3,000 great worlds at all times. Unfortunately, due to the obstruction of the celestial realm, the distance, and the path, they couldn't invade on a large scale. Only a few demons came through tribulation transcendence, chi deviation, spatial cracks, and other irregular ways. But now, the path was open, and a bright future was in sight. After all, the ninth hell was an existence that was coveted in the eyes of the devil Tao. Otherwise, the Yellow Spring Emperor wouldn't have built the Yellow Spring Demon Sect here and chased all the other demon sects out. After the Yellow Spring Emperor died, the other demon sects also became restless, trying to counterattack and return to the ninth underworld. Compared to the famous sects that liked to occupy famous mountains and rivers, the ninth underworld was the most ideal place for the demons. Not only would cultivating here yield twice the results with half the effort, but they could also comprehend the true meaning of the demons. The extraterrestrial demons had always been eager to attack the 3,000 worlds. In addition, the land of the nine serenities was like a glittering treasure mountain that tempted them openly. How could the demons not come like carps in a river? Kill, kill, kill. Kill everything, rob everything, plunder everything. I've finally come to the 3,000 great worlds. The heaven-severing demon sovereign, will definitely become the supreme demon lord. Invade the 3,000 great worlds and turn this place into a bridgehead. For a moment, the demons danced as billions of demons charged out of the heaven and earth demon gates. Moreover, they were different from the demons led by the great divine venerable in the endless snowfield. The demons, they were basically cannon fodder, but the demons here were like the celestial race's warriors. They were powerful beings from the fiend realm. It wasn't just their cultivations that were formidable, more importantly, they had combat experience. They fought with some great cultivation sects, Buddha World, Dragon World, and even Immortal World all year round, and they'd survived hundreds of battles. So they could be said to have abundant experience and weren't afraid of death. Damn it, old demon heart, you deserve to die. You actually dare to open the passageway between the extraterritorial devil world and the 3,000 great worlds. You are betraying us. Once the celestial world finds out about your actions, they will definitely put you on the wanted list. At that time, even the Lord of Heaven may personally deal with you. How dare you, how dare you? Looking at the endless stream of demons, Sacred Heavenly Dipper and the others felt their vision go black, and they felt dizzy. The extraterritorial demon world and the 3,000 great worlds were true enemies. They were existences that even the immortal world could not destroy. Although the deity race and the void god world had always been ambitious to attack the 3,000 great worlds, their natures were completely different. From a name's void god realm and demon realm, one could see some clues. If the immortal world and the 3,000 great worlds were considered as a whole and were named after domains, then the void god realm was one of them. Him attacking the 3,000 great worlds was just an internal conflict. The outer realm devil world was an existence of another realm. His attack was the same as an invasion. Internal strife was fine, but external invasion was out of the question. What was Old Man Mental Demon doing? To say that he had invited a wolf into the house was an understatement. He was practically a guide, a traitor, a sinner. However, did Old Man Mental Demon care about this? Clearly, he did not care at all. In fact, he snorted disdainfully. First of all, he cultivated the demonic Tao, so he did not reject the outer realm devil world. Secondly, most people who cultivated the demonic Tao were lawless people, especially old demons like Old Man Mental Demon. He was an egoist. As long as it was beneficial to him, he did not care. Of course, the most important thing was that although the demons that he summoned would not listen to his commands, he did not care. As long as he could create chaos, it was fine. He had opened the heaven-earth demon gate to fish in troubled waters and find an opportunity to escape. Everyone, now is not the time to be angry. At that moment, the true immortal of the whirling great world spoke. Old Man Mental Demon opened the passageway to the outer realm devil world to create chaos and find an opportunity to escape. If we let him escape, we will first lose the fruit of desire. This is not just the loss of a treasure. At the same time, we will lose the chance to obtain the primordial hidden treasure and the face of our 5 great worlds. In addition, the passageway to the outer realm devil world has been opened. If we do not close it in time, demons will come endlessly. We will be in danger, especially when we do not know what kind of great demons will come. Therefore, the most important thing now is to keep an eye on Old Man Mental Demon and close the Heaven-Earth Demon Gate. That's right. You guys destroy the Heaven-Earth Demon Gate. I will keep an eye on Old Man Mental Demon. Sheng Tian Gang quickly echoed, the true immortal of the whirling great world. Without waiting for the others to react, he pounced at Old Man Mental Demon. When the others saw this, although they felt that Sheng Tiangong's actions were a little strange and too proactive, this was clearly not the time to discuss this. Great Transcendent Transformation Immortal Technique. Divine Firmament Spiritual Net Great Immortal Technique. Monarch Extermination Great Immortal Technique. Tuoluo Lamentation Great Immortal Technique. Dao, Weiyuan, and the other 3 attacked at the same time, each unleashing an immortal technique. Dao Weiyuan and the others were all true immortals. Moreover, they were not ordinary true immortals. When they joined forces, they could even challenge heavenly immortals. The immortal techniques that they unleashed were not ordinary either. Every single one of them had the power to split the heavens and earth. Even the Supreme Tao artifact, Sky City, began to tremble violently. Even the Supreme Tao artifact, Sky City, began to tremble. In a moment of carelessness, the immortal light struck his body. Boom! A corner of the city wall was blasted away. Even a peerless Grey Tao artifact could not withstand such power. Naturally, the Heaven and Earth Demon sect could not bear such a heavy burden. In that instant, a rain of blood filled the air as ghosts wailed and gods howled. Every single second, there would be a large number of heavenly demons being ripped apart. Devil kings exploded and devil gods disintegrated. In the blink of an eye, the heaven and earth demon gate was showing signs of collapsing. Fortunately, Demon Heart Old Man didn't have to make a move at this moment. Those extraterrestrial demons who wanted to conquer the 3,000 great worlds naturally wouldn't let go of this great opportunity. All of them went all out to stabilize the demon sect. At the same time, Old Man Mental Demon also turned into countless wisps of black gas and fled in all directions. He wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape. Trying to run? Did you ask for my permission? Seeing this, Sheng Tiangang could not help but sneer. The reason why he had volunteered to keep an eye on Old Man Mental Demon was because he wanted to snatch the fruit of desire from him. This way, not only would his prestige increase greatly, but he would also be able to obtain a precious treasure. Boundless light, boundless longevity. Sheng Tiangang roared. Countless wisps of holy light exploded behind him like a peacock spreading its tail. Be it black gas or heavenly demons, they were all swept in by him. Perhaps it really did resemble Kong Xian's five-color divine light. Chapter 530. Damn it. This time, it was Old Man Mental Demon's turn to be exasperated. Originally, with his strength, although Sheng Tiangang was not bad in a one-on-one fight, he would not have taken him seriously. But although he was strong, Dao Wuyuan and the others were not easy to deal with. After all, he had not broken through to Divine Demon. Previously, under the siege of Dao Wuyuan and the others, he had suffered a lot of damage. Then, he summoned the Heaven and Earth Demon Gate. Although it was not an offensive or defensive immortal technique, it was just a space door. However, this space door opened the passage between the black-yellow Great World and the extraterritorial Demon World. The consumption was not ordinary. Because of these 2 points, he only had 70% of his full strength. Originally, he had planned very well. Opening the Heaven and Earth Demon Gate, 70% of his strength was enough for him to escape in the chaos. But man proposes, God disposes. He did not expect that he would be targeted by Sheng Tiangang. Although Sheng Tiangang was not as good as him, he was still an expert. When he was at his peak, he naturally did not care about him. But now, he was like a dragon in the shallows. Moreover, Sheng Tiangang did not want to defeat him. He just wanted to lay him. And light attribute attacks were the same as pure yang attribute and Buddha attribute attacks. They were the nemesis of demons. Because of this, Old Man Mental Demon was in a tragedy. He was being delayed by Sheng Tiangang. If this continued, there would only be 2 outcomes. First, Dao Wuyuan and the others would destroy the Heaven and Earth Demon Gate and then turn around to attack him. With the strength of the 5 of them, even if he could escape in the end, he would lose a layer of skin. Second, they did not break the Heaven and Earth Demon Gate. The extraterritorial demon world had more powerful demon generals. In that case, not only Sheng Tiangang and the others, but he would also not be able to escape. At least, he would become a prisoner. At worst, Old Man Mental Demon shook his head and prepared for the worst. I have to leave here immediately. Old Man Mental Demon muttered to himself. Because no matter what the final outcome was, as long as he was delayed here, it would be very disadvantageous for him. Third young master, how about we help Old Man Mental Demon? At the same time, Fong Han, who was hiding in the dark, spoke to Fong Qingshan. We cannot allow the demon gate of heaven and earth to continue opening. Otherwise, the Xinhuang Great World will fall before the celestial race can even invade. As for the people from the 5 great worlds, since they dare to come to the Xinhuang Great World to seek help, they can forget about going back. A cold light flashed in Fong Han's eyes. Before this, not even Fong Qingshan had any intentions of entering the Yellow Springs treasury. How could the petty Fong Han not hold a grudge against these people for trying to take away what was already in his pocket? This was especially the case since he wanted to calculate his own fate and snatch the Yellow Springs diagram. Even 10,000 deaths would not be enough to atone for his crimes. In addition, He also had some ties with Old Man Mental Demon. Moreover, Old Man Mental Demon was on good terms with Venerable Scarlet Abyss and Venerable Linglong. Therefore, Fong Han decided that he could not just stand by and watch. Of course, if he was alone, he would definitely not put himself in danger for the sake of so-called morality and righteousness. However, she had Fong Qingshan by her side now. Given Fong Qingshan's cultivation, it would be too easy for him to deal with a few perfected immortals. Moreover, the Yellow Springs treasury was now Fong Qingshan's. These people's intention of entering the Yellow Springs treasury was equivalent to snatching food from Fong Qingshan's rice pot. In this case, it could only be said that if it was a sin committed by the heavens, it could still be forgiven. All right, that's exactly what I plan to do. Sure enough, as Fong Han expected, Fong Qingshan agreed without any reluctance. What he did not know was that even without Old Man Mental Demon, Fong Qingshan was not prepared to let Sacred Tiangang and the others go. It was not because they were eyeing the Yellow Springs treasury, but because these people were mobile resource vaults. Fong Qingshan had put in a lot of effort for Mosquito Dorn's breakthrough. How could he let go of food that was already in his mouth? As for the appearance of Old Man Mental Demon, although it was an accident for Fong Qingshan, the more accidents like this, the better. For others, the Heaven and Earth Demon Gate, opening the passageway to the black-yellow great world from the demon realm, was like inviting a wolf into the house. It was a disaster. However, for Fong Qingshan, it was an unprecedented opportunity, a gluttonous feast. Compared to letting Mosquito, Dowrin kill and devour Sacred Tiangang and the others, Fong Qingshan did not feel the slightest psychological burden to devour these extraterrestrial demons. This was like a civil war. Although they were enemies and would not hold back when fighting, it was inevitable that they would feel regret. After all, they were comrades. However, the invasion of foreign enemies was different. Mountains of corpses and seas of blood were no longer synonymous with violence, but meritorious deeds. Killing one demon was not a sin. Killing millions was a hero, and killing tens of thousands made one a hero among heroes. Fong Qingshan shook his sleeves, and Mosquito Dowrin fell out. Without resources, his cultivation could not be improved. Other than constantly refining connate spiritual treasures, he could only do nothing or sleep. As for enlightenment, he did not need it at all, nor did he have the talent in this area. Even sitting under the Bodhi tree was of no use. When Fong Qingshan let him out, this guy was sleeping soundly. However, in the blink of an eye, Wen Daoist sniffed and shivered. Then he came to his senses. He smelled blood and food, and he sensed the possibility of improving his cultivation. When he opened his eyes to take a look, he couldn't help but salivate. In the eyes of Mosquito Dowrin, whether it was the experts from the 5 major worlds or the endless stream of extraterrestrial demons behind the Heaven and Earth Demon Gate, they were all elixirs that could improve his cultivation. When he saw Mosquito Dowrin appear, especially when he licked his lips, Fong Han shivered and subconsciously took a step back. He was also a lawless existence, but every time he thought of how abnormal Mosquito Dowrin was, he could not help but tremble in fear. I don't know where Third Young Master got this thing. Even so, Fong Han could not help but feel a sense of envy. Although he did not know that Mosquito Dowrin was Fong Qingshan's second primordial spirit, even if he could only control a subordinate, it was still very rare. Wait a minute. When Fong Qingshan saw Mosquito Dorn's impatience, he could not help but shake his head and pull him back. What's wrong? Mosquito Dowrin looked at Fong Qingshan with dissatisfaction. He was not the only one. Fong Han was also a little puzzled. Since we've made a move, we can't let anyone escape. Fong Qingshan glanced at him indifferently. 9 Bin's yellow river diagram. Come out, suppress the void, and lock the universe. With a thought from Fong Qingshan, the 9 Bin's yellow river diagram appeared directly above his head. Rolling yellow sand and boundless divine wind gathered in midair. In an instant, it condensed into 9 immemorial yellow dragons that roared and circled the sky. As soon as the diagram appeared, it covered the sky. With the Heaven and Earth Demon Gate and Sky City as the center, countless alternate dimensions were swept in. Heaven and earth darkened. Chapter 531. What's going on? What's going on? Although the people of the five worlds, the inner demon old man, and the extraterrestrial demons were engaged in a heated battle, they did not lose their basic vigilance. Their eyes should be alert, and their ears should be alert. This was the most basic requirement for cultivators, especially in battle. Sometimes, the key to victory or defeat was not just looking at the two sides of the battle. Otherwise, there would be no advantage in being in the right place. Especially in a large-scale battle, it was crucial to be vigilant. It was difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. When you were wholeheartedly focused on fighting your opponent, if you weren't on guard, then the surrounding enemies would suddenly stab you in the back. That would be the result of eternal damnation. Therefore, both the five worlds and the extraterrestrial demons actually kept an eye on them. When the land of the nine serenities suddenly changed, they immediately reacted. Let's go! Let's go! Oh no, there are still people hiding in the dark. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. At this moment, be it the people from the five worlds or the extraterrestrial demons, all of them could sense the threat of long from within the darkness. It was an aura of death. Therefore, all of them exerted all of their strength in an attempt to escape from this place. Of course, except for the extraterrestrial demons in the demon gate of heaven and earth, they did not sense the changes here at all and still swarmed over. However, what was the use of knowing? Could they avoid it, even if they wanted to? The yellow river of nine, Ben's diagram, hovered in the air, growing with the wind. In an instant, it expanded outward at a speed visible to the naked eye, constantly covering the area. In the blink of an eye, it directly enveloped the area of countless alternate dimensions under the formation diagram. Everything in the sky and on the ground was covered by the formation diagram. Then, the entire formation naturally merged into the void and disappeared into thin air. At the same time, the space within the square formation was strangely enveloped by layers of malevolent evil chi and black chi. The wind turned into tornadoes and yellow sand filled the sky, making it impossible for anyone to see what was happening in the area. If it were not for the fact that the demon gate of heaven and earth did not disappear and still stood in the same place, and there was still an endless stream of extraterrestrial demons rushing over like a tide, people would have thought that they had already changed to another world and left the land of the nine serenities. What is this place? At this moment, everyone, be it the five major worlds, the foreign realm, heavenly demons, or even old man mental demon, were shocked. Fortunately, those who could cultivate to the level of old man mental demon and the others all had top-notch willpower. After the initial uneasiness, they quickly regained their composure in the face of danger. This looks like the space of a Tao artifact. We were sucked into someone else's magic treasure. It is probably not a Tao artifact. It should be an immortal artifact. Someone tried attacking space only to find that the entire space remained motionless. Clearly, this was not something that a Tao artifact could accomplish. Interesting. They actually dared to scheme against so many of us, trying to catch us all in one fell swoop. Could it be someone from the Xianhuang Great World's Supreme Solitary Sect? It shouldn't be someone from the Supreme Sect. That's right. Although the Greater One sect has the backing of the Heavenly Monarch of Calamity, they would not dare to offend so many of us at once. Moreover, if the Greater One sect were to act, then their immortal weapon would be the eternal divine furnace. However, looking at the space here, it is clear that this is not the interior of the eternal divine furnace. Welcome to my 9 Bends Yellow River Formation. Just as everyone was on high alert and discussing, Fang Qingshan's voice rang out in the space. Following that, the figures of Fang Qingshan, Fang Han, and Mosquito Daoran also appeared in midair. Fang Han, seeing the 3 figures, Old Man Mental Demon, was the first to call out. Fang Han, he is Fang Han? How dare he? A mere ant dares to scheme against so many of us? Does he think he could do whatever he wants just because he has an immortal artifact? He simply doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Of course, these people were just ordinary sky demons, world kings, chaotic holes, and even void immortals. The real experts, such as Sacred Heavenly Dipper, Old Man Mental Demon, and the others, were looking at Fong Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren with solemn expressions. They felt a strong threat from Fong Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren, especially Mosquito Dowren. Although their cultivation levels were similar, every time his gaze fell on them, they would feel a chill in their hearts. Sudden impulse. The cicada senses the autumn wind before it moves. For cultivators, spiritual sense was sometimes more important than anything else. May I know who you are? Why did you ambush us? Dao Yin solemnly cupped his hands at Fong Qingshan. We come from the virtue great world, the whirling great world, the boundless great world, the mysterious spirit great world, and the sacred light great world. If there is anything wrong, please forgive us. Introducing himself, using both the carrot and the stick. When Fong Qingshan heard this, he could not help but snort coldly. You're only from the top 10 worlds, not even from the central great world. Even if you were, what does that have to do with me? Of all things, you should not have taken advantage of the situation. You should not have spied on the Yellow Springs treasury. Of course, you should not have appeared in front of me when I am most in need of resources. Of course, I still have to thank you. If it were not for you, how could we have drawn out Old Man Mental Demon? If it were not for Old Man Mental Demon, how could we have opened the demon gate of heaven and earth? If we did not open the demon gate of heaven and earth, how could there be so many resources? So, you can all rest in peace. I will remember you. You will all be with Mosquito Dowren. A satisfied smile appeared on Fong Qingshan's face, but in the eyes of the others, it was like the smile of the Grim Reaper. As soon as he finished speaking, Mosquito Dowren moved impatiently. Blood-colored mosquitoes flashed with ferocious mouthparts, flapped their wings, and pounced towards the people from the 5 great worlds and the extraterrestrial demons. All false immortals, be it humans or extraterrestrial demons, were instantly vaporized by Mosquito Dowren's clones. Almost at the same time, the Yellow River of 9 Bends was also activated. The 9 primordial yellow dragons were nowhere to be seen. As they roared, violent sandstorms shot out from their mouths like dragon breaths. They appeared out of thin air and rapidly charged towards everyone from all directions. Wherever it went, anyone who didn't have a defensive treasure and was touched by the wind and sand would have their auras drop again and again. Even those with defensive treasures were shocked. The aura of the Tao Treasure's artifact spirit was rapidly weakening with every breath it took. This was naturally the Yellow River of 9 Bends, the Yellow River of 9 Bends. It could erase one's cultivation and strip one's origin energy. As the depleted cultivation and stripped origin energy fused into the formation's power increased. Then the power of the stripping increased, forming a vicious cycle. Chapter 532. 9 Bends Yellow River Diagram. The internal space had become a polarized scene. On one side were the 5 major worlds and the extraterrestrial demons who had come to the land of 9 underworlds. Under the attack of Taoist 1 and a 9-turn Yellow River formation, these people felt like dying. They screamed and screamed, but there was no response. They used all their means, but it was useless. There was no road to heaven and no door to hell. Whether it was immortal techniques, Tao artifacts, or talismans, the 8 immortals crossing the sea had their own magical powers. However, as long as they were swept up by the sandstorm, their cultivation would be reduced. As long as they were targeted by Mosquito Dowren, their souls would be destroyed in a short time. As for the other side, with the Heaven and Earth Demon Sect as the center, it was connected to the extraterrestrial demon world. Because Fong Qingshan had deliberately isolated it with a formation, they had no idea what was happening on the other side. Seeing that no one was attacking the Heaven and Earth Demon Sect, they thought that the demons who had gone first had occupied the land of 9 underworlds and established a bridgehead. One by one, they rushed over to the other side in ecstasy. However, they did not know that they could not return from the other side. This place had become a slaughterhouse, a place where their bones would be buried. The only people who could remain calm as outsiders were Fang Qingshan, Fang Han, and Old Man Mental Demon. However, at this moment, they could no longer remain calm. From the slight trembling of their bodies, it could be seen that they had begun to doubt their lives. Speaking of which, Fang Han knew Fang Qingshan very well. He had always overestimated Fang Qingshan and set him as his goal to catch up with. However, he did not expect that Fang Qingshan's performance would break his bottom line again and again. When he was in the endless snowfield, he thought that Fang Qingshan should have the combat power of a perfected immortal. When he arrived at the 10,000 Immortal Island, this guess was shattered. He was at least a perfected immortal, or even a heaven immortal. But now, without doing anything, he gently threw out a scroll and sat on the fishing platform. The people in the space were like turtles in a jar, waiting to be slaughtered. Sigh. Fang Han could not help but sigh heavily. In the past, he could not understand Fang Qingshan. Now it was even more so. From the initial high-grade killing Dao artifact, the pure Yang flying sword, to the rocketing cultivation speed, Qiongqi mosquito Daoren, and now this unknown array diagram. He had already given up on making Fang Qingshan his goal. It was too tiring. The most important thing was that you thought that you could catch up to him, but in the end, you were only able to catch up to him. Not only Fang Han, but Old Man Mental Demon felt the same way too. This old man could be considered to have seen a lot of things. He had suppressed all of the Yellow Devil Dao, including Ying Xiantian and the others. He had even said that after the Yellow Spring Grand Emperor, no one could discuss the Devil Dao with him anymore. The Scarlet Abyss Demon Lord was an ancient devil, an old monster who could go against the great limitless Buddha Lord of the Buddhist sect. He was someone of the same generation as him. It could be said that he had seen too many of such people. Everything seemed normal to him. However, when he saw Fang Qingshan, Old Man Mental Demon felt that he had wasted most of his life. How could there be such a powerful person? How could there be such a powerful Dharma treasure? Old Man Mental Demon muttered to himself. Powerful person. He was referring to both Fang Qingshan and Mosquito Daoren. There was no need to talk about Fang Qingshan. After all, he was the one who had caused all of this. As for Mosquito Daoren, Old Man Mental Demon felt a chill run down his spine when he saw Fang Han's attack. He cultivated mental demons. Although they were formless, if he was targeted by someone like Mosquito Daoren, who had no inhibitions, it would be hard for him to escape. The powerful Dharma treasure was naturally the 9 Bends Yellow River diagram. Dao weapons, immortal weapons, even King Great immortal weapons, and even destinable divine weapons. Old Man Mental Demon had seen them all. However, he had never seen this diagram of Fang Qingshan's. It looked like a formation, but not a formation. It looked like a Dharma treasure, but not a Dharma treasure. However, it was an organic combination of a formation and a Dharma treasure, which maximized its power. Old Man Mental Demon estimated that even if a celestial immortal or a celestial immortal came, they would most likely die if they were sucked into it. It was not uncommon for someone to challenge someone of a higher cultivation level, but the higher the cultivation level, the harder it was to do so. Moreover, it was rare for someone of a higher cultivation level to challenge someone of a higher cultivation level. For example, one's physical body could counterattack with supernatural powers, or supernatural powers could counterattack with immortality. This was especially true for the barrier between immortal and mortal. However, all of this was completely broken by Fang Qingshan. Just as Fang Han and Old Man Mental Demon's worldview was destroyed, Mosquito Daoren could not be happier. Among the people of the 5 great worlds, the lowest cultivation level was a world king. Just this wave of world king experts alone was no less than the amount of energy absorbed by myriad returns in Immortal Island. Not to mention, there were chaos holes and void immortals with higher cultivation levels, as well as an endless stream of extraterrestrial demons. Mosquito Daoren's cultivation level began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. Peak Loose Immortal Earth Immortal, Early Stage Earth Immortal, Mid-Stage Earth Immortal, Late Stage Earth Immortal. At this point, the only ones left were the 5 leaders of the 5 major worlds. However, at this moment, they were almost at the end of their rope. As for the extraterrestrial demon world, not a single one was left. No matter how many came, they were all devoured. As for the demon sect of heaven and earth, because none of the people who had gone to the 9 underworlds had shown up, they did not send back any news. Therefore, the fiery impulse finally subsided. They knew that something was wrong. Therefore, they hurriedly went to invite the experts of the extraterrestrial demon world. However, Sacred Heavenly Dipper and the others could not hold on any longer. First, it was Sacred Heavenly Dipper, then Daoyin, then Wu Liang, and the perfected immortals of the Xianling Great World followed in their footsteps. Finally, only the perfected immortals of the whirling Great World were left. Just as Mosquito Daoran was about to devour, the woman's body suddenly erupted with a boundless Buddhist light. Following that, a shadow emerged from the woman's body and appeared in the yellow river of 9 Bends painting. The realm lord of the whirling Great World was also the woman's father. "How dare you kill my daughter? You deserve to die." This was a brand that he had left on the woman's body, which was equivalent to a clone. It would only erupt at a critical moment of life and death. Looking at this aura, it actually had the cultivation of a celestial immortal. This was just a clone. The realm lord of the whirling Great World was indeed no small matter. However, he had encountered the 9 Bends yellow river picture in Mosquito Daoran. At first, Mosquito Daoran was also startled by the sudden appearance of this figure. Then, he sensed his cultivation and could not help but smile coldly. Then, he pounced forward without hesitation. The realm lord of the whirling Great World had originally wanted to show off his might. Unfortunately, he was pricked by Mosquito Daoran's mouth, and his face immediately revealed a look of horror. Then, in the span of a breath, he vanished into thin air. How is this possible? When the perfected immortal of the whirling Great World saw this, her jaw dropped to the ground. Although she had been forced into a dead end previously, she had not despaired. But now, fortunately, Mosquito Daoran did not give her time to despair. The next moment, she followed in her father's footsteps. Chapter 533. The Buddhists had treasure trees or pure gold trees, pure silver trees, glazed trees, crystal trees, amber trees, beautiful jade trees, agate trees, and so on. However, the most famous ones should be worryless, subhuti, and sala. Legend had it that Buddha was born under the Ashoka tree, gained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, and died under the Sala tree. There was a Sala tree in the whirling Great World. This tree had gold as its roots, silver as its body, glaze as its branches, crystal as its tip, amber as its leaves, beautiful jade as its splendor, agate as its fruit, intertwined values, stems and stems facing each other, branches and leaves facing each other, rich and solid, glorious and radiant, unbearable, when the breeze blows, 5-note sound, subtle palace business, natural harmony. At this moment, there was an old man sitting under the Sala tree. He looked like a Buddha, yet not a Buddha, like a Taoist, yet not a Taoist. He should have had a solemn expression, a sage-like demeanor, a compassionate, or a carefree expression. However, at this moment, his brows were tightly furrowed, and he was burning with rage. This person was the realm lord of the whirling Great World. To be able to become the realm lord of a great world, especially one of the top 3,000 great worlds, his cultivation base and willpower were top-notch. For such a person, apart from the improvement of his cultivation base, there was basically nothing that could sway his mind. However, looking at the current situation, it seemed that his mind was in turmoil. The reason for this was that the clone he left in his daughter's body had been destroyed. He couldn't be more satisfied with this daughter of his. She had cultivated to the perfected immortal realm at such a young age. In his eyes, even the famous Venerable Ling Long was inferior to her. However, in the cultivation world, geniuses had great potential. To put it bluntly, they could not even protect themselves. As the daughter of the Realm Lord, she naturally had all kinds of means. However, this time, although he did not think that there would be any danger in his daughter's trip to the black-yellow great world, even if he did not give face to the Buddha, as long as he knew she was his daughter, most people would not make things difficult for her. However, all parents cared about their children. In order to be safe, he spent a lot of effort to refine a clone and seal it in his daughter's body. He thought that it would be foolproof, but unfortunately, God disposes. Just now, he sensed that the clone he left in his daughter's body had been destroyed. How could he not be worried? One had to know that in order to train his daughter, his doppelganger would only appear when his daughter was on the verge of death. And now, his doppelganger had been destroyed. What happened to his daughter? Sure enough, in the instant that his clone was destroyed, a pain that penetrated deep into his bones and entered his bloodline, a pain that pierced through his heart and soul. His daughter was dead. For a moment, the realm lord of the whirling great world was going crazy. He pinched his fingers to calculate, but the mysteries of heaven were hazy. He couldn't calculate anything. Although his cultivation level was decent, it was a pity that the Xianhuang great world was currently enveloped by the tribulation Qi. Furthermore, Fang Qingshan and Mosquito Daoren both had supreme treasures to protect their karmic luck. That was not something he could calculate. His clone was destroyed and his daughter was dead, but he couldn't calculate anything. It was no wonder that the realm lord, who ruled over an entire region, was so agitated. As the world lord of a world, he was like a saint. The will of the heavens was his heart, and the will of the heavens was his will. When he was angry, the entire whirling great world was shrouded in dark clouds. The air froze, as if a storm was brewing. I'd like to see what kind of monster dared to kill my daughter. After a while, he still didn't know anything. The realm lord gave up and tore the space in front of him, stepping inside. It wasn't just him. Many forces from the boundless great world, profound spirit great world, sacred light great world, and virtue great world also made their moves. After all, there was no need to mention world kings, chaos holes, and void immortals. True immortals were existences on par with world kings in many of the lower-ranked great worlds. The death of such a character would shake the foundation of a world. Just as the 5 great worlds heard the news and moved, a powerhouse from the demon world also descended. In the beginning, someone had connected the 2 worlds and opened the demon gate of heaven and earth. When they saw the profound yellow great world and the 9 underworlds, the people from the demon world were overjoyed and ran over regardless of the consequences. But as time passed, something was wrong. Ever since the demons from the demon world entered the profound yellow great world, the demon gate of heaven and earth had stabilized. However, there wasn't any news from there. This was clearly not right. Therefore, the rational demons stopped and sent messages to the more powerful powerhouses. At that moment, the one who came through the demon gate of heaven and earth was a famous demon from the demon world, the thousand-eyed demon god. This person was the vanguard of the 3,000 great worlds when the demon world attacked the immortal world. He was famous in the 2-realm battlefield. He was a saint demon, and not an ordinary one at that. Although he couldn't compare to the realm lord of the whirling great world, he was stronger than the celestial immortals of the Greater One sect. Not good. The moment the thousand-eyed demon god walked out of the demon gate of heaven and earth, he immediately realized that something was wrong. However, this person was bold. Not only did he not retreat to the demon gate of heaven and earth, he attacked the 9 bends yellow river diagram. The 6 eyes on this person's face opened at the same time. In an instant, golden light shot out in all directions. He actually tried to break through the yellow sand and divine wind, shooting towards the 9 heavens yellow dragon. Unfortunately, it was completely useless. Be it the flying yellow sand, the divine wind of the tornado, or even the yellow dragon that soared in the sky, none of them paused. The thousand-eyed demon god seemed to have become a magnet. All the storms were surging towards him. Oof. The thousand-eyed demon god's expression changed slightly. With a cold snort, he took off his clothes. This was the first time he saw someone take off their clothes in the middle of a fight. Seeing this scene, Fang Qingshan and company could not help but be stunned, but they immediately knew why. The thousand-eyed demon god, as the name suggested, could be seen. Other than the 6 eyes on his face, his chest, ribs, back, arms, thighs, etc., there was not a single part of his body that did not have eyes. They were densely packed, like the grains of sand in the Ganges River. Every eye shone with a strange light. If someone with trypophobia saw this, they would probably have goosebumps all over their body. The 1,000 eyes opened at the same time. It was like one person was equivalent to 1,000,000 soldiers. Golden light shot out, manifesting all sorts of weapons. Green light shot out, transforming into vines that coiled around. Gray light shot out, manifesting into curses. Formless light shot out, tearing through space, delaying time. Yellow light shot out, and one after another, huge primordial mountains came crashing down. Purple light shot out, thunder boomed, lightning snakes and lightning dragons shot out. Every eye was an attack, a type of attack. There were all sorts of strange attacks. And these attacks were not only strange, they were also quite powerful. Many of them were not inferior to immortal techniques. It was simply breathtaking. Chapter 534. What a thousand-eyed demon god. Seeing this scene, whether it was Fang Qingshan, Fang Han, or Old Man Mental Demon, they all sighed with emotion. This attack was simply too powerful. There were over 1,000 different eye techniques that involved various laws, yin and yang, the 5 elements, space and time poison, and so on. Every single attack was not inferior to a single attack from a Tao artifact. More importantly, when these attacks were gathered together, the quantitative change triggered a qualitative change. The destructive power that was produced was simply immeasurable, and it was enough to destroy everything. It was unstoppable. If this was not the 9 Bends Yellow River Formation, even Fang Qingshan would have no choice but to use a defensive treasure to resist such a torrent of attacks, let alone Fang Han and Old Man Mental Demon. Moreover, this defensive treasure was not the Clear Sky Mirror or the Tai 5 Smoke Net, but the 3rd-grade Golden Lotus, the Xianyuan Water Control Flag. Of course, the reason for this was that Fang Qingshan's cultivation was a little low, and the thousand-eyed demon god's move was a bit of a cheat. This was also the reason why the thousand-eyed demon god was so famous in the 2-realm battlefield. Those of the same realm, or even higher realm, were no match for him if they did not have a defensive immortal weapon or an unparalleled attack. Of course, there was a limit to everything. It would be troublesome for him to continue to improve in this situation. After all, if he could cultivate 3,000 demon eyes, he would be able to reach the supreme demon master realm, which was equivalent to an immortal king. Unfortunately, the thousand-eyed demon god did not have this opportunity. Who told him to meet Fang Qingshan and enter the 9 Bends Yellow River Formation without knowing the immensity of heaven and earth? Fighting in a formation was different from fighting an ordinary enemy. Formations gathered the right time, place, and people, and were best at defeating the strong with the weak. There were only 2 ways to break a formation, except for those with extraordinary talent. The so-called extraordinary talent was like the kind of natural ability to pass through all kinds of restrictions, ignore defenses, or like the 5-color divine light, which could brush and break everything if it was not this kind of talent. In addition to breaking the formation with one's strength, the only way was to suppress the formation master with the cultivation of the formation Tao. There was no need to think about breaking all laws with force. The 9 Bends Yellow River Formation was a top formation in the Desolation world. In the Immortal world, it was a first-class existence. Yin Xiao set up the Array Formation, and Guang Qingzi and the others were defeated. Although Fang Qingshan could not be compared to Yin Xiao, the thousand-eyed demon god could not be compared to Guang Qingzi and the rest. With his cultivation and combat power, it was impossible for him to completely crush Fang Qingshan. Therefore, it was absolutely impossible for him to suppress others by force like the primeval Lord of Heaven. As for relying on the realm of the Array Tao or finding the flaws in the array to break it. That was impossible. Fang Qingshan's array formation realm was not very high, but it was definitely not something that the thousand-eyed demon god could compare with. In addition, his yellow river of 9 bends was refined by the primordial Lord of Heaven for him. Therefore, it was even more impossible for the thousand-eyed demon god to break the formation. Actually, from the moment the thousand-eyed demon god stepped into the 9 bends yellow river formation without fear, his fate was already determined. If one fell into the formation, they wouldn't be able to break it. In the end, they would be destroyed by the formation. The only difference was how long it took. Fine. However, Fang Qingshan obviously wouldn't wait that long. He formed a seal with both hands and struck it into the formation diagram. Buzz. In an instant, the entire yellow river of 9 bends shook. The 9 yellow dragons high up in the sky suddenly swooped down, turning into 9 streams of light that locked onto the thousand-eyed demon god. Trying to bind me? Don't even think about it. The thousand-eyed demon god was very confident in its thousand eyes attack. With this move, it could be said that it had always been successful in the 2-realm battlefield. As for the black-yellow great world, if it had been in ancient times, it would still be a little afraid. As for now, it didn't believe that there would be anyone who could stop it. Unfortunately, it was good to be confident, but being overconfident would only bring about one's own destruction. The thousand-eyed demon god's eye technique was activated at the same time, but it didn't break the space at all. It couldn't help but be stunned. It only came back to its senses when the 9 shackles had bound him. Following that, the pupils all over its body instantly shot out boundless light. A frosty white ice-sealing divine light. A muddy yellow divine light of petrification. A dark black divine light of destruction. A scarlet divine light of massacre. Clang, 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 clang. For a moment, the light collided with the chains. Instantly, bursts of dazzling light burst out, and the sound of a bell was deafening. However, even though the rays of light were numerous and ferocious, they could do nothing to the shackles on his body. At most, it would leave 1 or 2 marks on it, but they would disappear in an instant. Not only did the formation have the effect of suppressing one's cultivation, but it also had the effect of isolating the outside world and preventing one from recovering. On the other hand, his body was in harmony with heaven and earth, growing and multiplying endlessly. It was no wonder that the longer one was trapped in the formation, the harder it was to escape. Impossible. The thousand-eyed demon god had suffered a huge blow today. The demonic gate of heaven and earth opened, and the passageway to the immortal domain avoided the cataclysm battlefield, and even led directly to the Xianhuang Great World. He had thought that it would be a great merit and a feast. He had not expected that he would be trapped in this strange space the moment he arrived in the Xianhuang Great World. With his cultivation base and means, as long as it wasn't a king-grade celestial artifact or above, it was only a matter of time before he broke it. However, in the end, he could not break it at all. That was not all. Even with the 9 shackles on his body, he could not do anything to it. What he could not accept the most was that this space was constantly whittling away at his cultivation base. Haha! While the thousand-eyed demon god was fighting with the chains, Mosquito Dowrant did not even need Fang Qingshan to say anything. Then he pounced on the thousand-eyed demon god. Damn it! What's this? The thousand-eyed demon god only felt that the 9 bends yellow river formation and the 9 chains formed by the 9 yellow dragons were troublesome to deal with. The method of constantly whittling away at one's cultivation only made him shudder. However, Mosquito Dorn's mouth completely terrified him. Scram! The thousand-eyed demon god finally began to panic when he sensed the power in his body and his origin source gushing out like a flood. This was different from the subtle whittling away of the formation. Mosquito Dorn's method was like the 9-turn yellow river formation with the primordial chaos golden chalice. The thousand-eyed demon god tried to expel the mosquitoes that were biting him. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, there was no effect. In the end, he could only give up on attacking the chains. He opened his eyes and shot at the mosquitoes. This move effectively stopped Mosquito Doran's devouring. Unfortunately, Mosquito Doran's clones were endless. After one died, hundreds or even thousands of them pounced on him. Not only did the thousand-eyed demon god not receive any replenishment, but his strength was also constantly declining. Therefore, in less than a quarter of an hour, his soul had also dispersed. Chapter 535. No, this was the thousand-eyed demon god's final cry in this world. Its tone was filled with disbelief, frustration, regret, resentment, regret, and unwillingness. Perhaps if he had another chance, he would not have barged in so casually. Perhaps, however, how could there be so many possibilities in this world? One only had one life. If one missed it, it would be in the past. The past did not change. After Mosquito Doran devoured the thousand-eyed demon god's cultivation, he finally broke through the earth immortal stage and became a sky immortal. Ha ha, good, good. Mosquito Doran roared at the sky. A sea of blood appeared behind his head. White bones piled up like a mountain, and evil spirits rampaged. All right. Although Mosquito Doran had been refined by Fong Shan into a second primordial spirit, it was only his primordial spirit and soul that were destroyed. The violence and ferocity in his blood still existed, especially since he relied on devouring the heavens and devouring the earth to increase his cultivation. It made him even more reckless. Fortunately, no matter how rampant the avatar was, it was under Fong Shan's control, so he did not care. However, although he was not a completely low-key person, he would not be as lawless and reckless as Mosquito Doran. Seeing Fong Han and Demon Heart Old Man's distressed expressions, he felt a strong sense of danger coming from the demon gate of heaven and earth. Fong Shan had to interrupt Mosquito Doran's venting. Who dares to kill a child of the demon realm? At this moment, a ferocious aura that was even stronger than Mosquito Doran's came from the demon gate of heaven and earth. Feeling this aura, Mosquito Doran and Fong Shan immediately became serious. Even Fong Han and Demon Heart Old Man's souls were trembling. Their minds were blank, and they could not resist at all. Then, the 3,000 demonic eyes on the demon gate of heaven and earth wriggled and instantly turned into a demonic face. The face was completely red, like that of Guan Yu, but it carried a strong smell of blood. This was especially true for the vertical eye on his forehead. It was similar to Wen Zhong's and Yang Jian's eyes, but it gave off a feeling of hell, of depravity, and of death. Although the eye was not open, Fong Shan and Mosquito Doran did not dare to underestimate its power. Once it was opened, it would definitely have the power to shake the heavens and the earth, a peerless counterattack. May I know who you are? Fong Shan and Mosquito Doran stood together, shielding Fong Han, an old man, mental demon, behind them. They looked at the demon in front of them cautiously. If not for the fact that they were still inside the yellow river of Nine Bends formation, Fong Shan and Mosquito Doran would have already fled. Even so, the two of them still quietly took out the Xianyuan water manipulation flag and the third-grade lotus seed, ready to deal with any sudden changes. What a great formation. It connects heaven and earth and forms its own world. No wonder it could kill Qianyan. It's not without reason. The newcomer did not pay attention to Fong Shan. Instead, he carefully sized up the yellow river of Nine Bends formation. Even with his cultivation and vision, he could not help but feel his heart palpitate when he saw this formation. He sighed. After a while, he turned to look at Fong Shan and Mosquito Doran. His hoarse voice sounded like a python's tongue. The thousand-eyed demon god did not die in the two-realm battlefield, but fell here. The black-yellow great world is indeed blessed by destiny. Even though it has declined, there are still people like you. You killed Qianyan. Now you have two choices. The first is to submit to me, and the second is to die. Ha! After the initial shock, Fong Shan and Mosquito Doran could not help but gradually calm down. They sneered and said, We do not have the habit of being dogs for others. Life is so beautiful. We do not want to die. However, if you are willing to submit to me, I can accept it. If you want to die, I can also send you on your way. Ha ha ha! Hearing Fang Qingshan's words, the god fiend, who had been calm and collected, laughed in anger. How many years had it been? Ever since he became a heavenly lord, no one had dared to speak to him like this. Fang Qingshan was the first. Yes, this person was a heavenly lord demon god from the demon world, Zhu Yin. He was also an expert in cultivating eye techniques. However, he was different from the thousand-eyed demon god. The thousand-eyed demon god walked the path of gathering 3,000 great Tao, but he cultivated only one, which was the vertical eye between his eyebrows. Guangong did not open his eyes, but when he did, he would kill. Zhuyin demon god's vertical eye was the same. Once he opened it, day and night would change, and 1,000 years would pass. It was somewhat similar to the legendary divine beast Torch Dragon. According to the classic of mountains and seas, the god of Mount Zhong was called Zhuyin. He saw day as day, roared as night, blew as winter, and exhaled as summer. He did not drink, eat, or rest, and breathed as the wind. He was 1,000 miles long, in the east of nothingness. He had a human face, a snake body, and was red. He lived under Mount Zhong. For a moment, his voice was like thunder, and his aura surged. Even the yellow river of Nine Bends formation could not completely isolate his aura. At this moment, the entire black-yellow great world could sense his existence. The air froze, and everyone felt as if the sky was pressing down on them. Exquisite paradise, venerable Ling Long, the Greater One sect, the celestial immortal emissary, the various alternate dimensions of the black-yellow great world, many giants who had been in hibernation since ancient times, and even the realm lords from the whirling great world, the boundless great world, and the other 5 worlds were alarmed. Of course, they were not only alarmed, but also terrified. This was the aura of a heavenly lord. A heavenly lord, even in the mortal world, was a big shot. This was the first time such a person had appeared since ancient times. This made the old monsters who had experienced the great ancient tribulation and the new generation of experts feel uneasy. In particular, this aura of a heavenly lord also carried a strong demonic aura. Obviously, it was not a good thing. For a moment, the entire black-yellow great world was shrouded in uneasiness. And the experts of the 5 worlds, who originally wanted to investigate the cause of the matter and take revenge, all retreated out of the black-yellow great world at a faster speed than when they came. A man of wealth would not sit under the eaves. What the hell happened? Who is it? It's so terrifying. This is the aura of a heavenly lord. How is this possible? What happened in the 9 underworlds? Could it be that the Yellow Spring Grand Emperor has been resurrected? For a moment, the experts of the black-yellow great world were talking and discussing, but no one dared to go forward to investigate the specific situation. This included Venerable Ling Long and the celestial immortal emissary of the Greater One sect. That was a heavenly lord, not someone they could deal with. No one wanted to court death. Moreover, they had already prepared for the worst. If a heavenly lord of diabolism really came to attack, they could only exchange space for time. Not to mention them, even the divine clan, who was preparing to attack, was dumbfounded. Seeing that they were about to launch an all-out attack, a strange heavenly lord suddenly appeared. Was he playing with them? Chapter 536. You want to subdue me and kill me with just you? After a long while, Heavenly Lord Shadow Candle finally stopped laughing, and he stared at Fang Qingshan as if he was looking at a dead man. Me? Fang Qingshan nodded confidently. In the beginning, he had also been startled by Heavenly Lord Shadow Candle's aura. But after coming back to his senses, Fang Qingshan realized that he didn't have to worry at all. First of all, with the 9 Yellow River formation, with his cultivation, even if a Lord of Heaven came, he might still be able to fight. Secondly, this Heavenly Lord was not a Heavenly Lord of his own realm, but an extraterritorial Heavenly Lord. As the host, he had the geographical advantage. As long as Zhuyin dared to come, he would naturally be suppressed. Even a heavenly lord from the celestial realm would be suppressed, not to mention that he was from the outside world. The reason for this situation was actually very simple. The combat power of those above the heaven monarch realm was too destructive. Once they went all out, they would cause irreparable damage to heaven and earth, just like the desolation world. The battle between the primordial dragon and Phoenix was still manageable, even though it affected a large area and many people. But at that time, the world had just opened, and Pangu's pressure hadn't dissipated. It was still very stable and didn't show much damage. But the Taoist-Fiend conflict had directly shattered the Western ancestral bloodline. The ancient war of sorcerers and demons was even worse. Mount Buzhou, which was the pillar that supported the sky, was directly broken into two. During the conferred God War, heaven and earth shattered, forming 4 great continents. It was the same in the black-yellow Great World. He thought about how prosperous it was in the ancient times. In terms of experts, there were primordial chaos Taoist, reincarnation Taoist, Panwu Heavenly Lord, the 3 sovereigns, and so on. Cardinal treasures included the Human Emperor Brush, Earth Emperor's Book, Emperor Mirror, World Tree, etc. But now, the group of heroes had withered, and the supreme treasure no longer existed. Therefore, according to the will of the world, Hongjun Tiandao did not allow any existence that was too powerful to appear in order to avoid destroying the balance. Therefore, when Fang Qingshan returned to the immortal world, as soon as he sensed his aura, the immortal world's welcoming immortal light appeared. Even the power of a native world would be repelled by the world if it exceeded the baseline, let alone external power. The reason why the Greater One sect was able to receive the celestial immortal emissary was because of the celestial immortal emissary. It was also because of the calamity in the immortal world that a mortal monarch and the others had paid a huge price. If it was so easy to descend to the mortal world, why did only celestial immortal emissaries come instead of deities, Shin immortals, or even golden immortals? This was because the more powerful an existence was, the more difficult it was for them to descend to the lower realms. If they wanted to descend to the lower realms, the price they had to pay would be even greater. Therefore, Heavenly Lord Zhu Yinzhu did not dare to cross the boundary at all. Once he descended, he would most likely face the rejection and suppression of the Xuanhuan Great World's will. Then it was the Hongjun Tiandao Thunder Technique, Heaven's Wrath. At that time, he might not even need to do anything, for the world would destroy him first. Of course, whether or not it could be destroyed was not something Fang Qingshan could predict. That would depend on how strong the Xuanhuan Great World's world was. However, Fang Qingshan was not afraid of the heavenly monarch, even if he really faced him. Even if he couldn't defeat them, he could at least protect himself. After all, not only did he have a third-class Golden Lotus, but he also had the Mystic Essence Water Control Flag. The Mystic Essence Water Control Flag was Mosquito Doran's companion treasure. Although it was limited by his cultivation and he could not completely refine it, it was also the one that had refined the most restrictions among all of Fang Qingshan's spirit treasures. With this item and Fang Qingshan's combat power that was comparable to that of a perfected immortal, so what if he was a heavenly lord? Moreover, he still had the all-heaven chessboard. If he really couldn't resist, he could just leave. Good boy, do you think you've got me? Heavenly Lord Zhu Yinzhu was stunned at first. He did not expect Fang Qingshan to be so confident. However, he immediately reacted and thought that Chun Fan was sure that he would not dare to descend with his real body. In fact, Fang Qingshan's guess was not far from the truth. As a person from the outside world, he would not easily descend with his real body. Therefore, they would send a vanguard to establish a bridgehead and demonize the world. Otherwise, it would be easy for them to be rejected and suppressed by the world. In the worst-case scenario, they might even fail miserably. The other one was Fang Qingshan's 9-turn Yellow River array, which also made his heart palpitate. Therefore, Heavenly Lord Zhu Yinzhu did not descend directly. However, it did not mean that he did not have any tricks up his sleeves. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I'll let you know that although there's only a difference of one word between a sky immortal and a heavenly lord, there's a huge difference between them. As soon as he said that, the space gate of heaven and earth that connected the two worlds suddenly exploded with a powerful energy. At the same time, there was a series of cracking sounds, as if it could not bear the burden. Then, before Fong Qingshan and the others had time to be surprised, their expressions changed. Fong Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren did not say anything and immediately took out the Mystic Essence Water Control flag and the third-class Golden Lotus. For a moment, waves surged and lotus flowers bloomed, shining with golden light. It was like a paradise of lotus flowers. Whoosh! Heavenly Lord Zhu Yinzhu's vertical eye opened, and a beam of cold divine light swept in all directions. At the same time, Fong Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren felt that the scene in front of them seemed to have changed drastically. It was like black and white were alternating, day and night were no longer distinguishable, and the four seasons were no longer distinguishable. The past, the present, and the future were intertwined and reincarnated. A heavenly lord was indeed a heavenly lord. Although the Yellow River formation was powerful, although the 9-turn Yellow River array was powerful, Fong Qingshan, the person who set up the array, not only had a low cultivation level, but his array Dao level was also low. He was probably not even comparable to an ordinary outer sect disciple of the Jie school, but he had wasted such a good array. If it were not for the primordial Lord of Heaven who had smelted the 9-turn Yellow River array's array diagram and the 9-turn Yellow River diagram, he would not have been able to set up the array so easily. The clouds did not know that the 9-turn Yellow River array still needed to be practiced before the 9-turn Yellow River array. In order to master the 10 ultimate arrays, the 10 heavenly lords had not finished refining the array diagram until when Zhong came to find them. Therefore, the yellow sand, the divine wind, and the heavenly dragon all stopped in front of his eyes. The array stopped operating, and the light from his eyes arrived in front of Fong Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren without any obstruction. At that moment, the sky darkened and the sunlight froze. Time stopped and space stopped. There was no light in the world. The only light was the mysterious light from Zhu Yinzhu's eyes, which formed a sharp contrast with the dark environment around them. It was strange. The only light did not bring hope and warmth, but death and despair. It mercilessly imprisoned and deprived all living things within its range. Fortunately, Fong Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren had prepared 2 supreme treasures in advance. Otherwise, they would have completely lost control of their minds. Without the protection of supreme treasures, once they were covered by the light from the eyes, the consequences would be chilling to think about. Boom! The light from Zhu Yinzhu's eyes collided with Fong Qingshan's 2 supreme treasures. There was no earth-shattering sound. There was only a stalemate for a while before it disappeared. However, Fong Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren's faces were pale, and their vitality was greatly damaged. Even the 3rd-grade Golden Lotus and the Mystic Essence water-controlling flag had dimmed. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.